Tampa City Council evening session now come to order, June 24th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Carlson.
Here.
Maniscalco. Dingfelder.
Here.
Cedro.
Here.
Vieira. Miranda.
Here.
And Goose.
Here.
We have a physical quorum present.
Chairman, move items 1 through 9. They'll be open.
Mr. Moran has opened. Mr. Maniscalco is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now open. Mr. Shelby, did you need to do your spiel, sir?
Yeah, I do it. I'm looking for the verbiage. I'll just go to the agenda.
You mean you haven't learned it by heart yet?
There's some things I'd like to.
After a year?
Well, let me just say this. Tonight's evening meeting of the Tampa City Council is being held during the COVID-19 state of emergency, and it's being conducted live with an in-person quorum present in City Council chambers. However, in response to the COVID-19 restrictions, members of the public are encouraged to participate virtually through video teleconferencing, referred to by Florida statutes and rules as communications media technology, or as we have discussed today, CMT. These meetings are being held in accordance with emergency rules of procedure as adopted by resolution number 2020-225 and as amended by resolution number 2020-490 and resolution 2021-241. The public and the citizens of the city of Tampa are able to watch, listen, and view this meeting on cable TV Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and on the internet at tampa.gov/live stream. Now, in order to participate through CMT, applicants and the public are required to pre-register by going to tampa.gov/quasi, QUASI, and those instructions are available also on the city's webpage, the city council's webpage at tampa.gov/city council. Now, a CMT device that is capable of video is also required to participate remotely. That means it cannot be a phone, it has to be a tablet, a desktop, or a laptop. Otherwise, you are not able to participate. And again, the instructions are available online. Now, any registered applicant who wishes to show PowerPoint presentations, renderings, photos, and other such documents may share their screen during the public comment or submit all such evidence in evidence. And if you do share your screen, you are required to submit a complete electronic document of all, an electronic copy of all documents that were presented during the public hearing, and that goes to council quasi-submissions at tampa.gov within 24 hours of the conclusion of the hearing. If you do not have a CMT device, you are able to come here at City Hall and participate on the second floor at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, and please note that the use of masks and social distancing inside the building are encouraged. You can send comments in advance via email, but please be advised that there is a deadline to be able to submit them in advance to be able to be part of the record. Now, written comments received by email or mail are distributed to City Council and will be included in the permanent record of the meeting assuming the deadline is met. And all public comments received timely by email, mail, or via CMT will be afforded equal consideration as if the public comments were made in person. With regard to those people who are participating remotely on the GoToMeeting platform, please be advised there is a chat box, but that chat box is not to be used by the public to communicate with City Council during the meeting. That is only to communicate with staff for technical issues. Please do not use the chat box to communicate any substantive matters during the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. A few house cleaning notes. Madam Clerk, just for the record, Mr. Vieira had an emergency, had to leave, so just note that, please. Mr. Shelby, we have two items, but I'm going to go ahead and get to number 14 so we can let the city attorney's office leave. Item number 14, we're going to move to number 1.
And for number 14?
Simone Savino and Kendrick Donnelly on behalf of the legal department. Good evening, Chair and Council.
Good evening.
We are here to request that item 14 would just be moved to number 1, and also that council would address item 14 at this time, in which we would request that you schedule a hearing after July 29th for an AB suspension for property located at 3401 North 15th Street. And the hearing can be set by motion this evening.
Question.
A motion by Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda.
Mr. Chairman?
And the request for the date at this time, and if it's agreeable to council, it would be for August 26th at 10:30 a.m.
August 26th.
Oh, no.
I thought it was July 29th on
No,
that.
that's just
After.
Oh, that's
That's correct. Any date after July 29th was
So
amenable.
they're recommending August.
okay, August 26th. A motion on the floor by Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda. Was there any discussion? We need a roll call on that, Mr. Shelby?
Yes, sir, and it's 10:30 a.m., is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Maniscalco. Miranda.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Woods.
Yes.
Citro. Yes. Dingfelder.
Yes.
And Viera. Motion carried with Viera being absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentlemen, in case it gets late in the evening, we need to get this out of the way. Mr. Shelby, can we talk about this trim calendar, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of City Council, Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney, per council's instructions, I did confer with the CFO, Mr. O'Hara, and he did provide a trim calendar with multiple options. They were reviewed. The option number 4, which you have a copy of in front of you, is the only one, I believe, as I recall, that does not have either the first or second reading on a Friday night of the budget. So if you see in front of you, the one that you do have that is being presented by the administration, it has been reviewed by the clerk's office, and it has been reviewed by the chief of staff, and it has been presented by Mr. O'Hara as an option, is the first public hearing on the 13th of September at 5:01 p.m. and the second at the 28th of September, also at 5:01 p.m. This calendar also updates the fact that council canceled the September 16th meeting because of Yom Kippur. And hold on just a minute, please. Mr. O'Hara? I'm talking to the city council now as we speak. I'm sorry. Is there something I need to communicate? I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there something I need to communicate? Because I just want to make sure it's not an emergency. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. My apologies, City Council, but that was the CFO, and I wanted to make sure there was nothing that was immediately pressing that would affect what I'm about to say.
Okay,
So
sir.
if it's council's pleasure to agree to this, then that would be the consensus of council. You can do it by motion and vote, and then the administration will have clear direction, and we'll take that forward. But this does address council's concerns that were expressed to the administration, and I believe it addresses those concerns, hopefully to your satisfaction.
All right, gentlemen, we have, Mr. Shelby has gave us our options because we said Friday would not be an option for us. So he's given us our options for the 13th, and for the first public hearing, and the 28th for the 2nd of September. Motion to accept?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Maniscalco, Mr. Miranda, second by Mr. Maniscalco. We need a roll call vote on that.
Viera.
For both of them?
First
Yes.
public hearing, yeah, for both of them.
To accept this option as presented by the administration.
13th and the 28th.
Right.
Correct.
One is the first is on a Monday night, and the second on the 28th is on a Tuesday night.
6 p.m.,
5:01.
5:01.
Viera. Dingfelder.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
And Maniscalco. Motion carried with Viera being absent.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, it's come to my attention in reference to, is the deputy clerk online?
No, she's not.
She's not online tonight? Okay,
Her internet is down.
her internet's down.
Yes, that's correct.
As you know, it was brought to my attention this morning that the mayor has selected a fire chief, which would be Barbara Tripp. And apparently, the memorandum or release went out a day ago. I saw it in the Sentinel last night. A lot of council members had it on Facebook, and I know a lot of us elated about that, the mayor making that selection. But with that selection, it didn't come through this council yet. And apparently there's supposed to be a swearing in on Friday, which I plan on attending. But we have to do things in protocol with the charter. And I would hate to, the chief gets sworn in on Friday, but she couldn't be the chief until July 15th, and until this council approves a resolution.
Right.
So we kind of put the cart before the horse. We're not, things happen. I know we hit this term. That's the way we've always done it. And I'm not blaming the current administration for that, because that's a lot of things right here. That's where we've always done it. But we just can't do those things anymore, and we have to do it in protocol. And this council makes the final appointment of any department head or director after that person is selected by the mayor. So I told Mr. Shelby immediately that I wanted him to get with legal to make it official for Chief Tripp, because she's done a great job, and everything needs to be aboard board on Friday. And that way, if the mayor plans on swearing in, that we have a resolution, we have approved her appointment, this is council's pleasure, and now she's totally official Friday at 1:30. So I do have a resolution
Second.
on the table there for the approval of Chief Barbara Tripp, that's the fire chief for Tampa Police Department. Mr. Maniscalco has moved it. Mr. Citro has seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just.
You're recognized, sir.
Right, thank you. Just for clarification, the administration is also asking for a one-year residency waiver, because the charter requires people at that level of the administration to live within the city limits.
That's correct.
And I just wanted to point that out just for the record.
But in our charter, they say you have a 1-year time frame in which to move to the city.
Correct. And again, that's for any director administrator. So I know our legal department should be watching that if that's the case, and any other directors and so forth, but that is a part of the charter. And again, we have to follow the rules and regulations of the charter. And just for FY in the future, I will not allow any department heads or appointments on the agenda unless it's come through council previously, so we'll know of the assignment that the mayor is looking to appoint. That way this council can be able to ask questions about that appointee. That is our right as a council, so we'll know about that appointee and give us an opportunity before we bring it on the floor for a vote for an approval of an appointee. So
And the good news,
you're
Mr. Chairman,
recognized, sir.
the good news is with Chief Tripp is that not only has she been with the department obviously a long time, so everybody got a chance to know her in that capacity,
Correct.
but she's also been acting chief for, 6 months or more.
Correct.
And everybody seems to be very happy with the job she's doing. So with that, congratulations from all of us.
Mr. Shelby.
Yes, Council, just to clarify, and I just want to be sure that somebody actually might have inadvertently said police department, or, but this is certainly for the fire
department,
rescue, Tampa Fire
Tampa
Rescue.
Fire Rescue, yes, sir.
Okay, and also with regard to the residency waiver, it is renewable per the charter changes for an additional 2 times to be able to do that. It's not just a 1 year, they can come back and ask for that. And I believe, is there anything else that I need to mention? Just so that when, by the way, for your information or your recollection, when Chief Tripp was appointed the interim, there was a residency waiver for her as interim. And this just reconfirms that now, for now, her position now as the fire chief.
Madam Clerk, I can't remember now, we're doing so much talking. I know it was Mr. Maniscalco that made the motion.
Maniscalco made the motion and Citro seconded.
Mr. Maniscalco made the motion, Mr. Citro seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Goode,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Citro,
With the,
Dingfelder,
was that Citro or Dingfelder?
Citro didn't.
Citro.
Thank you. With the greatest pleasure, yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
and Vieira. Motion carried with VR being absent.
I know Mr. Vieira would have loved to be here for that, because, to give his blessing on that. But again, I want to make sure we did it right. And I want to make sure if the mayor was making that appointment to talk about swearing in, that she was the fire chief at the end of the day and not have to wait till July 15th, because she would not have been the fire chief. She still would have been an interim fire chief. So I want to make sure I got that done and out the way. And I thank you, gentlemen, for giving me the time to help Mr. Shelby in the legal department to rush to get this resolution done for this evening session. So again, thank you, and thank you again, Chief Tripp, for the job you've done. All right, we've got those housekeeping matters out of the way. We'll move on to item number 1. All right, we have a public hearing, file, oh, there she is.
I apologize, I was on mute. Jennifer Moe with your Planning Commission staff. I can have permission to share my screen. Okay. So this is Tampa Comprehensive Plan Amendment 20-41. This will be familiar to you. It is Roman Slide Park. It's located in the University Planning District in the Egypt Lake Leto neighborhood. This is publicly initiated by council. Since it's over 10 acres, it was transmitted to DEO, which City Council did on March 25th, and we received a no comment letter on May 5th from the Department of Economic Opportunity. It is from residential 20 and recreation open space to recreational open space, and with that, I'll just state that it is consistent and ask for approval tonight. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Maniscalco? We'll have that from staff, right?
Wait, is there anybody?
From staff?
I don't, is there anybody from staff on this hearing? Or no staff? Oh, there's somebody from the planning department, Frank?
Is he on?
Yes,
Mr. Hall?
yes.
Okay, all right.
Good evening, council. For the record, this is Frank Hall with the City Planning Department. This request was routed internally for comment by city staff, and at this point, the city has no objections.
All right, do we have anybody from the public speak on this item?
Is there anybody registered?
Anybody registered?
Yes, we do.
Okay. There she is. Raise your hand to be sworn.
Her microphone,
No,
I don't
no
believe is
volume.
on.
You're mute. We can't hear you. Turn your microphone on.
Oh, I apologize about that. Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
How are you? My name is Jaisa Sostre. I am a public policy and administration student at St. Petersburg College. I am originally from Puerto Rico and have lived in Florida for over a decade. Currently, I reside in the city of Tampa and have been doing so for 4 years. I work as a legal assistant at Rivas Law Group, where we strive to assist individuals who've been injured due to another negligence. Since moving to the city of Tampa, I have witnessed the outstanding dedication the city leaders and the public have towards community development and improvement. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of speaking with the Hillsborough County Plan Amendment Coordinator and Principal Planner for Comprehensive Plan Policy and Review, Ms. Jennifer Malone, on the Tampa Comprehensive Plan 20-41. Ms. Malone provided me with valuable insights on the benefits this ordinance amendment would bring to the residents of North Rome Avenue. For instance, this ordinance is set to allow residents to benefit by providing additional recreational land use that would serve as an amenity to the community. One of my concerns was the possible displacement of residents who reside in North Rome Avenue. However, Ms. Malone assured me that this ordinance will not require residents to relocate. I want to personally thank Ms. Malone for taking the time to share her knowledge with me. She is a valuable asset to the city of Tampa. And pursuant to Land Use Policy 4.2 under the Hillsborough Planning Commission's comprehensive plan, the city of Tampa strives to protect open space for its recreational, safety, and environmental value. Considering that the changes to land use pose no risk to the public and promotes the preservation of the recreational land and open space, I am in full support of this ordinance. Council members, thank you for your service to the community and for allowing me to speak on this ordinance. Have a great night.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on this item?
Second.
Motion by
Yes,
Mr.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Miranda, second by Mr. Shelby.
I'm just concerned if, are we aware if there's anybody on downstairs on the second floor? I don't know whether there is. I haven't checked.
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosario.
Thank you.
All right, no one on the second floor. Anybody else registered, Madam Clerk?
That was it.
All right, Mr. Miranda has moved to close. Ms. Maniscalco seconded. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Ms. Maniscalco, you read number one, sir, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property generally located at 6800 North Rome Avenue, otherwise known as Rome and Slide Park, from residential 20R20 and recreational open space ROS to recreational open space ROS, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Citro. Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
and Dingfelder.
Yes.
Motion carried with Viera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Item number two.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I notice item number 5 is also one of those park recreation open space. I don't know if you wanted to get rid of it quick. That's up to you.
There's
Are
several,
there?
yeah, there's several of them.
They're all like that.
They're all parks, huh?
Item number
No.
9 as well. Item number 8.
Oh,
Yep, through 8, yep. Number 9, yep.
well, that's up to you.
All right, we got parks for 9, 8, 5.
I think that's it.
I think that's it. 4.
Mr. Chairman, it would be just easier for those who are gauging that when they're going to be talking, just to do them in order.
That's fine, Mr.
Rather than change the agenda at this point.
All right, let's just go through the agenda. Let's go. Number 2, let's go, just go. Number 2.
Good afternoon, council members. David Hay with your Planning Commission staff. If I could share my screen, please. All right. Hopefully, you're seeing my screen.
We're seeing it.
Oh, good. All right. The next amendment up for your review is a TA CPA 21-02. It is located within the University Planning District. It's more specifically in the Northeast Community Live Oak Square neighborhoods than the eastern portion of the city, where the star is. Here we have an aerial of the subject site. It's outlined in red, highlighted in yellow. Here to the south is East Hillsborough Avenue. To the east is North 50th Street. You could see that Shipman Court and North 48th Street dead end into the development site on the south side from Hillsborough. And then North 47th Street is the main access point to the subject site. This dotted line is the city boundary, so everything to the north and east out here is in unincorporated Hillsborough County. And North 48th Street does go south into this dead ends into the subject site from unincorporated Hillsborough County. You can see that North 50th Street The east side of the road is mostly industrial in character. The west side of North 50th Street within the city is heavy commercial in nature. Then you've got single-family detached predominantly to the north and west, and there are some single-family uses to the south as well before you get to the commercial uses located down on East Hillsborough Avenue. A little background, this is publicly initiated by the city of Tampa. It is a small scale. It's approximately 7.24 acres in size. The subject site has an adopted land use category of residential 10. Regarding the proposed request, originally the city administration requested the community mixed use 35 future land use category. After discussions with neighborhood stakeholders and planning commission staff, the city of Tampa amended their original request down to the residential 35 future land use category, and that's the category that you see this evening. Let's take a quick tour around the subject site. Here we're looking north, up North 48th Street, so East Hillsborough Avenue is behind you. We're looking toward the subject site. That's the subject site, the wooded area right at the end of the road. This is some single-family detached residential located to the south of the subject site along that North 48th Street corridor. This is the subject site behind these trees to the right. Now we're kind of moving west. Now we're looking up north up Shipman Court toward the subject site. So again, East Hillsborough Avenue would be behind you. Shipman Court does kind of go north and then along the southern boundary immediately takes a left. So that's that jog that you're seeing. This is the subject site at the end of the road. Here we're looking east along Shipman Court. So we're looking back at where that corner was there. This is, the subject site is located over here on the left side of the photo. But again, we're at North 47th Street, looking east. Now we're looking north up North 47th Street. So we were standing right behind this car in the last shot, looking down Shipman Court. Now we're looking north up North 47th Street. Again, you can see some single family detached, and then this is the subject site. It's vacant. Here we've got some single family detached residential located directly to the west of the subject site. This is along North 47th Street. Here we're looking at single family detached residential located to the north of the subject site along North 47th Street. The subject site is located to the south and east of this site. So the backyard, all this green here in the back is the subject site. Now we're on the north side of the subject site. We're looking south down North 48th Street from unincorporated Hillsborough County. And then this is single-family detached residential located to the north of the subject site along North 48th Street. This is the subject site right here. And this dead ends into the site. Here we have the adopted future land use map. You could see the current designation and the properties to the north, west, and south in that tan color, all the residential 10 future land use category. Immediately to the east, in the red, you've got the community commercial 35. So that's those heavy commercial type uses. That category can also be found to the south along East Hillsborough Avenue. And then this dotted line on this map represents the city boundary. So in unincorporated Hillsborough County to the north, we have residential 6, which is 6 dwelling units per acre. And then it's hard to see, but just to the east of 50th Street, you have the light industrial represented by the gray. If this amendment is approved, this site would go to the residential 35 future land use category represented by the brown color. Here we have the maximum potential intensity and density. Existing under the residential 10, the subject site can be considered for a maximum of 72 dwelling units or 110,000 square feet of non-residential uses. Maximum density under the residential 35 is 253. And for the record, an incorrect unit number was provided in one portion of the staff report. The correct maximum unit count is 253. The by right under the residential 35, the site could be considered for 217 units, and that's 30 dwelling units an acre. That's the by right density. Planning Commission reviewed the comprehensive plan and found that the proposed map amendment request for the residential 35 future land use category would be consistent with the adopted policy guidance within the comprehensive plan. Your Planning Commission found 4 main areas of consistency. The subject site falls within the University Planning District. The comprehensive plan recognizes the University District as the primary research, medical, and education employment center for the city of Tampa. Additional housing, especially in proximity to transit and commercial services, further a number of policies specific to the University Planning District. The comprehensive plan also promotes compatible development with existing neighborhoods. The residential 35 future land use category removes any potential for commercial general uses that could have been introduced under the original community mixed use 35 future land use category. Also, any non-residential uses must still meet commercial locational criteria. The proposed R35 future land use category provides for an appropriate transition of density from that community commercial 35, which is located to the east, and the single family detached uses found along this segment of North 47th Street. Third, the city's overall growth management strategy is to promote residential infill in appropriate areas, especially areas that have access to transit and employment opportunities. The plan also seeks to target areas that are well served by infrastructure or that have opportunities for additional expansion of existing utilities at minimal cost. Due to the presence of employment and transit opportunities and the overall lot pattern, additional infill may be appropriate in this general area. If development can also be sensitive to existing single-family detached uses. Planning Commission did find the introduction of the R35 future land use category at this location would further a number of residential infill policies. Finally, the city's plan promotes density increases that encourage the use of transit. Several studies, including a 2009 study conducted by the Center for Transit-Oriented Development, found that doubling residential density increases transit boardings between 15 and 59%, depending on proximity and frequency of that transit. East Hillsborough Avenue is served by Hart's Route 34, which connects the site to Net Park and the Northwest Transfer Center. Additional density within 800 feet of a transit stop furthers land use policy 9.8.4. It should be noted that Planning Commission staff would recommend that if Tampa City Council approves the plan amendment, the Planning Commission staff, in cooperation with the City of Tampa and private property owners, should study the viability of potentially increasing density, especially within the R10 areas between the subject site and East Hillsborough Avenue, if deemed appropriate. Based on that, your Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I believe the city has a presentation as well, but I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Hay? Ms. Feely, you're up.
Good evening, Council. Abby Feely, Director of Development and Growth Management. As you know, I do oversee the Housing Department. The application before you tonight is from HCD. This property, I do have a brief presentation that I'd like to present to you. I did submit this presentation to the clerk's office if there's a problem with any visibility, but since I'm not at home driving the screen tonight, I brought just a good old-fashioned paper copy I'm going to share with you. As David mentioned to you, the property is located on, oh, may I have the Elmo, please?
Coming up.
Or if you want to give me the other one, I'll just. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think David did a great job of familiarizing you where the property is located. It is on the east side of 47th, north of Hillsborough Avenue, west of 50th Street. And he did mention to you that the city boundary is at 50th Street. So everything east of 50th is all county, it's LI land use. This contains 2 parcels, and they do total just over 7 acres. It is currently Res 10, so we could only really do single-family residential here. And what we are proposing is a residential 35. David did mention to you, we did try for a CMU 35, and the Planning Commission was not very receptive to that, so we did step it down, but I will go into a little bit further explanation for you on that. The city purchased this property with CDBG funds back in 2019. So we are limited and restricted to how we can program this property for affordable housing or additional housing that runs consistent with that program. So our goal with this plan amendment is to move from that single family to allow for alternative types of housing, and then we will be putting this property out for an RFP. So before you tonight is really to take us to that next step of development. The property is shown here to you in yellow, and as David mentioned, you have all that CC 35. Everything that runs along 50th is like auto repair, warehousing. It is not very conducive to a residential neighbor. So this will actually allow one of those transitions that our comprehensive plan talks about, where you offer different housing stock that kind of buffers up against that. Also, just to note, on the 7 acres, there are a lot of trees. So we do have some natural buffers that are going to assist us in developing this in a way that will provide some of those buffers to what is on 50th. And then you have Hillsborough to the south. I have a few photos I'll show you of the commercial that is here. There's a church also as you move up 47th toward the property. And then again, I do have some transit to share with you as well. I did go out to the site, take a few pictures for you. As I mentioned, it's all empty now. It's a large piece. You can see it from both sides. Shipman does wrap around on the south side of the property. So Shipman comes off of Hillsborough, and then it does make a little dog leg there that does come onto 47th. Some photos just traveling from that west side of 47th. There's a shopping center, a vacant parcel just north of that, the place of religious assembly that I referred to, and then some single family directly across the street. As David mentioned, we are in proximity to a number of transit routes that serve this area. Within 800 feet is the nearest route that is on Hillsborough, the 34. Within 3/4 of a mile at 56, there are 4 routes that serve that area, and within a half a mile at 40th, there's an additional 1 route. I provided you with some of our land use objectives as well in relation to ensuring that there's an adequate amount of land planned for residential purposes to accommodate our projected population, that we protect, promote, and maintain residential neighborhoods in order to preserve an adequate amount of residential for existing and future population growth, and that the impacts of redevelopment projects on the existing physical and social framework and character of affected areas should be recognized and discussed during the development review process. Also, we have Land Use Objective 9.6 that speaks to increasing the diversity and improving the sustainability of multifamily residential areas, and 9.6.4, which speaks to balancing the objective to increase opportunities for new housing development to ensure adequate housing for Tampa residents, with equally important objective of ensuring that new development is compatible with the neighborhood character. If I can just, I want to go back just a second to that land use map, because you'll see across the Hillsborough corridor, just at the other end, you have a Res 35 apartment complex, similar to a pattern that would be created by the approval of this plan amendment before you this evening. And you also have an R20. You also have that same pattern on the south side as you step back off of that corridor of the commercial 35 to the Res 35 on the south side as well. When you go over to 40th Street, you have a CMU 35 corridor that runs adjacent to the R10. That also has different uses and commercial uses that could be considered there, and that's what David mentioned earlier. We did consider potentially putting that there. There were some concerns related to that, so we stepped back that application to be the Res 35. Lastly, we do have some policies about low and medium density multifamily areas and providing for these transitional areas. 973 talks about providing for transitional densities between single family neighborhoods and more intensive commercial and residential uses. And I believe that's what I displayed to you on the map when I showed that transition to allow for this use from the 50th Street corridor. That being said, I would respectfully request your approval this evening, and if you have any questions, I'm available to answer those.
Any questions? Mr. Defoe, you're recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Feely. It looks like a pretty exciting project potential as a partnership, in partnership with private development to try and build affordable housing, and that's what it's all about, as we were discussed earlier. Was one of those photographs actually 47th or 48th Street?
48th Street runs on the
No, it would be 50th would be the backside where the warehousing and there isn't.
48.
Well, the address of the property is
47.
47th. I was just wondering if you had a photograph.
These were the photos of 47th.
Okay, not necessarily adjacent to the property.
Oh, I have this. This is the subject along the top, and then where I showed you Shipman Court comes around, there's a single-family residential on the south of that. And then this was across 47th. There's another home and
Okay, the one your finger's on right now, I think makes my point. It appears to me in looking at all these that there's a severe shortage of sidewalks throughout that neighborhood, and if we're talking about building this type of project within a few blocks of of the transit corridors, which is all a good thing, then I think it's inherent that when we do that to the tune of several hundred units, that would give people a safe way to get to and from.
We've already spoken to mobility on that, and they're aware that there will need to be sidewalk connections there. We'll be putting them on our property, or whomever is assigned the RFP will, but we're also looking to make those other connections, and they are aware of that.
I know it's a little bit premature because we're not here for rezoning and we're not here to approve a contract with a private developer, but just obviously you've already thought about it, but just in the back of your mind, when we go to put out that RFP, I think the RFP should make it abundantly clear. Not only do they need to fund the sidewalks internal and adjacent to the subject property, but also possibly some external sidewalks. And that's just part of the RFP. Pay to play, and I think pay to play in this case is appropriate for sidewalks. So anyway, obviously it's not tonight, but I just wanted to mention it so that way when it comes up later, it won't be a surprise to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Okay, well, I'm very familiar with that property, Mr. Dingfellow. Probably goes all the way back towards the cemetery. It's a side street behind the motels back there. Can't think of that street, but it's a side street. It's a funky made property, but it's a huge property. But my question tonight is that because that is a residential community as well. You may not look at that video, but when you go a little bit to the west a little bit, there's a community right there. So have we talked to the residents, because you said alternative type housing. So have we talked to the residents over there about this project and what may that alternative be? Because I know a project, some communities don't really care for. So I want to know how we talk to the community over there.
We did have a public information session. Randy Goers and Frank Hall conducted that. I was party to that as well. We did receive some feedback on that. When I say alternative, I mean when we put the RFP out, this may be a combination of multifamily. It may be single-family attached townhome style. What we have on the land right now is only good for single-family detached homes. And looking at our need and the future population, we are looking to put this into a category where we can start to envision and plan for that. We can't do that right now. The only thing we could do would be a subdivision on that property for single-family homes. So this is our first step. We then will have to go to the next planning step, but we did have those initial discussions and did receive feedback from the neighborhood. When those discussions were had, they were asking what they wanted there, and what came out were libraries, community centers, other things. Based on how we purchased this property with those federal funds, we cannot use this for a library. So Randy did do follow-up with them and let them know, based on that input and based on the additional information, we provided to him that we're looking, the RFP could still incorporate a community room. It could incorporate other things. We're gonna ask someone to take a look at this, a developer who's interested, and, put in an application to the RFP in order to be able to start to imagine. But right now, it could only be single-family detached homes, and how it abuts what's along 50th and what our future needs are in the purchase of this property that was done under the prior manager. We are trying to get this into a position where we can move it forward.
I'm glad you were transparent and told me about that, because I've heard the rumors from that community about how it was brought to them. And they did not take kind of the way it was brought to them. And sometimes that does happen when we don't really communicate, but I did understand that staff did go back out there and apologize to the community for the way it was delivered. So I'm glad that did happen. I guess our only concern is when you say alternative, some are not fearful of the tiny home concept, and they're fearful of any container homes. But I didn't hear you talk about any of that.
That is not our intent for this property at all. This is a great piece of property, 7 acres. As David mentioned, it could probably be 217. I don't think it will be there. I think we would shoot for somewhere in the 150, 160 range. I don't foresee us maxing this out based on the natural landscape of the property, the trees, other things. I want us to be considerate of that, and to also be considerate of the character of the area in order to ensure that what we're putting in there is compatible and does, benefit that community, and it is a positive investment in that community.
I would implore you to look at some of those other properties along that back street that you might be required to do some stuff, because some of those places have been an eyesore, have been a nuisance problem, like the motel there. And it may be time for those businesses to go. So while you're working on that, I think you're also need to explore some of those other options with that corner, with that car lot dealership that's on that corner right there. You got the motel next to it, and you got the other old building right there that I don't know what they use, and then you got the Family Dollar, and then you got 5508. So I know the area like the back of my hand. So that's why I say, Wills, that we got to be looking at the broader picture. If we're going to put that kind of development, because that is a big piece of property, Mr. Dingfellow said that's going to bring a lot more traffic to that area over there. What you're trying to put there with the size of that property, and he's right. You have sidewalks on that street, because with that kind of traffic, that means kids, and that means walkable people. So we need to put all those things in perspective.
Yes, sir.
But it is a beautiful property. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Feely. Anyone from the public on this item?
There are no
On the
regi-
second floor?
There are no registered speakers for this
Anybody on
item.
the second floor?
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second?
Ms. Maniscalco, move to close. Mr. Miranda, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Carlson, would you mind doing the honors for item number 2?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to move file number TA CPA 2102, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 5709 North 47th Street and 4705 East Henry Avenue from residential 10 R10 to residential 35 R35, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Has moved it. Mr. Maniscalco has seconded. Roll call vote.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Maniscalco. Citro,
Yes.
Viera, Miranda,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
and Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried with Viera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 3.
Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission staff. Can I share my screen, please?
1 second. Ms. Feely, my aide did break you that piece of paper from earlier this conversation. Thank you. Jennifer, you may continue.
Thank you. Hopefully everybody can see Tampa Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 2103. Again, Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. This is located in the University Planning District within the East Forest Hills neighborhood. The subject site is outlined in black with a red overlay. It is about a half-acre site located on West Linebaugh Avenue between North Boulevard and North Ola Avenue. To the north of the subject site, these are single-family detached homes. To the east, this is a place of religious assembly. To the south are more single-family detached homes. The southwest is a multifamily development. Further to the west is another place of religious assembly. To the north is the Danny Del Rio Pool. We also have Forest Hills Elementary and Adams Middle School in the north area of the site. This is a privately initiated small-scale request at about a half acre from residential 10 and residential 20 to residential 20. I'll show some site pictures. We're facing west along West Linebaugh Avenue, kind of looking right into the site. On this next one, this is the place of religious assembly that's next to the site along West Linebaugh Avenue. In this picture, this is the subject site. It's a heavily wooded site. It's a little difficult to get a picture, but this is looking into the subject site. These are the multifamily to the southwest of the site that I pointed out earlier, the Florida Gulf Coast Apartments located along Linebaugh. These are the single-family homes along West Linebaugh Avenue. This is West Linebaugh. Oh, and I would also point out that these single-family homes interface the subject site along West Linebaugh Avenue. And this is West Linebaugh Avenue facing east. And these are the single-family homes to the north of the subject site along 101st Avenue. And we can kind of see the place of religious assembly that's near the site through the single-family homes. This is the adopted future land use map. The site is residential 10. There's a small amount of residential 20 on the far western side. There's residential 20 further west of the subject site. And we also see that residential 10 future land use to the north, east, and south of the subject site as well. And with this change, this is the proposed future land use map, taking the entire site to the residential 20 future land use. This would increase the impacts from about 5 dwelling units to 10, and it would increase the amount of non-residential square footage from approximately 7,949 square feet to 10,890. However, the commercial locational criteria will still apply within the proposed future land use designation, so it still offers that level of protection if this is approved to the residential 20. So the Planning Commission did find this consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan supports the promotion of infill development. The site is also within proximity to the USF Business Center, and the plan supports promotion of the infill housing development within these areas. It also supports sensitive transitions between residential uses, So this would provide that sensitive transition from the single-family detached to the north to West Linebaugh Avenue. There's also several transit stops located along West Linebaugh Avenue as well, so it definitely promotes that encouraging housing within proximity to transit and employment, and the employment with the USF Business Center piece. It also promotes citing the location of multifamily areas and areas that multifamily is already present. And as I stated earlier, there is that multifamily present just to the southwest of the subject site. Lastly, the comprehensive plan encourages the promotion of new housing on vacant or underutilized land. This is located on a collector with access to transit and employment, so the plan does support this change. And so the Planning Commission did find it consistent, and I'm available for any questions, and I see Frank Hall is on the line as well with the city.
Any questions, Ms. Malone? Ms. Dingford, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Malone, will you put up the, one of those aerial looking maps? That one's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so looking at the subject property, right now you said that it could accommodate 5 single-family detached homes, correct?
That is correct, under the maximum potential, the potential, yes.
Okay, and is there a side street there running, what, north-south?
This street here,
No, running north-south along the edge.
right here?
I don't know, is that east-west or north-south?
Oh, sorry, north-south. So this way, or which side street are you?
Well, on the other side of the property is
Over here.
is the only street touching this property Linebaugh? Or is
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I mean, my gut feeling says why not leave it as, potentially 4 or 5 single-family homes, because that's what's behind it to the north. But then now that you're saying the only way they can get in and out is on Linebaugh, so I guess that might lean toward a little more density. All right, thank you.
Anyone
You're
else?
welcome.
All right, city staff. Right? Right?
Good evening. Again, Frank Hall with the City Planning Department. Again, we routed this internally, and the city staff has no objections to this either.
All right, thank you. Anybody on the second floor for this item? Anybody on the second floor for this item?
Eileen Rosario, Development Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank
Do
you.
we have anybody on the second floor tonight, Ms. Valerie?
Yes, we do.
We do,
We do.
okay, all right, all right.
Wait, we gotta check the.
We actually
check
have the
phone
applicant
lines.
online,
We have already registered?
the applicant.
Okay, applicant's online? All right, I'm sorry about that, jumped too far. We'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, council, for your time. We thank you for hearing us and getting us in.
Got no video,
we-
got no video.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time, sir, and
Ms.
council.
Shelby, do we need video for non-quasi?
No, sir. You
Okay,
don't
all
have
right.
to specifically.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear you.
Is your camera able to be turned on, or you don't have use of a camera?
I turned it on. I'm sorry for the technical issues. We made it work before. Can I move on without it? Is that okay, sir?
Does he have to be sworn, Mr. Shelby, or no?
No.
All right, non-quasi issue, has to be sworn. Go ahead, sir, you can continue.
Yes, sir. So thank you all for your time again. We would just ask for your support of it. And our adjoining neighbor to the west is multifamily property as well to the southwest and the north side of it. And our only access, Councilman Dingfelder, is off of Linebaugh. And we thank you for your support. Thank you.
All right, there was nobody for this item from number 3, and there was nobody registered. Move to close.
Second was.
All right, Mr. Citro and Mr. Miranda seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
All right, motion carried. Mr. Citro, item number 3, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. File number TACPA 21-03. Move an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 809 West Linebaugh Avenue from residential 10 R10 and residential 20 R20 to residential 20 R20, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date. Second.
Thank you, Mr. Citro, second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call vote.
Citro.
Yes.
Maniscalco. Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
And Viera. Motion carried with Viera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
All right, item number 4.
This is Danny Collins. Can you share my screen, please? This is Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2105. The subject site is located in the Central Tampa Planning District. It's within the historic Ybor neighborhood, and it's also within the local historic Ybor district as well. This went to the BLC last Tuesday, and they recommended approval to you. Here is an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. The request consists of 6 folio numbers, generally located north and northeast of Channelside. This is the southern parcel. It's just on the west side of North Wall Street and the Solomon Expressway. The remaining 5 parcels are north of Adamo Drive as you move along North 15th Street as you move north. Here is an image looking west along East 2nd Avenue. The subject site is out of our frame to the right. This is standing at the subject site, or at the intersection of East 2nd Avenue and North 15th Street looking south. This is standing at the intersection of East 2nd Avenue and North 15th Street looking east. The subject site would be behind us. This is looking north along North 15th Street from East 2nd Avenue. The subject site is on our left. This is looking west at one of the plan amendment sites from North 15th Street as we move north on North 15th Street. And this is the northernmost parcel looking west from North 15th Street. There's currently a residential structure on the subject site. Quick background of the request. This is a privately initiated amendment, small scale in size. It's approximately 3.6 acres with 2.16 being light industrial and the remaining 1.44 acres being heavy industrial. The request is to change 3.05 acres to regional mixed use 100s and the remaining 0.55 acres to the CMU 35 designation. Here is the adopted future land use map. You'll see the southernmost parcel is currently recognized under the heavy industrial designation, and the remaining 5 parcels are recognized under the light industrial category. The surrounding areas is currently trending towards a mixed use development pattern. There were several plan amendments from industrial categories to RMU 100s and the CMU 35 categories over the past 20 years. North, that was changed to the RMU 100 previously. There's the proposed future land use map. This northernmost parcels are being proposed to be changed to the CMU 35 designation, and the remaining 4 parcels south of East 2nd Avenue are being requested to change to the RMU 100 designation. Currently, under the light industrial and heavy industrial designations. Residential uses cannot be permitted, but the sites can be considered for a total combined 235,000 square feet of non-residential development as proposed under the RMU 100 and CMU 35 designations. The total requests can be considered for 324 dwelling units, or just over 500,000 square feet of non-residential development. So this would allow for higher residential density and greater commercial intensity on the subject sites, and would also remove any potential of industrial uses from the sites. The Planning Commission staff sent this off to various agencies for review. We did get some comments back from the school board, which they identified Blake High School as a school that currently does not have capacity to support the land use change. However, this is based off analysis for adequate facilities only. It is not a determination of school concurrency, because school concurrency review will be issued prior to preliminary plat or site plan approval. The Planning Commission reviewed the request and found it consistent with the city's design and city planning strategy. The request was found consistent with the mixed-use corridor policies, specifically by promoting a mixture of uses within proximity to each other. Also, the request was found consistent with the plan's housing policies by ensuring that there's an adequate amount of land planned for Tampa's growing population. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions from council? Ms. Dingfellow, you recognize.
Yeah, Danny, could you put up your aerial, when the lightning hit, it kind of distracted me from your aerial shot of the surrounding properties? No, the one, I'm sorry, the one that showed the planned densities on the surrounding properties.
You mean the future land use map?
Correct. I know we had some RMU 100s in that vicinity. I just wanted to see where they were.
So it's currently showing on my screen. I don't know if you guys can see it. This is the adopted future land use map. This purple color represents regional mixed use 100 category.
I think the next one over on between Second Avenue and Adamo, I think that was no, stay on the map you were at. Between Second Avenue and Adamo was, they came in many years ago. That was the Kimmons property. Is that right?
I do not know offhand.
Okay, because I think they came in looking for the RMU 100, and now we have these folks looking for the RMU 100. So are the two properties further to the north that go up to 3rd Avenue, or is that the CMU 35?
Yeah, so the parcels that are north of East 2nd Avenue are going to the CMU 35, meaning are going to RMU 100.
Okay, and the one on Adamo is RMU 100, and then the one down around the bend is RMU 100 proposed?
Correct, yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? All right, we'll hear from Frank, city staff.
Frank, you're up.
Oh, sorry about that. My mic wasn't working. Nonetheless, the city has reviewed the submission, and at this time, it was routed through, and the city has no objections to this proposal at this time.
Thank you, sir. We'll hear from the applicant.
You got Mr. Villa down there, probably for the BLC.
Oh, okay, all right, didn't see him down there. Mr.
Good
Villa?
evening, Commissioners. Ron Villa, I'm staff with Historic Preservation. This request did come forward on the 22nd of June. As presented, it was approved by the board. They are incorporating some CMU 35 that's closer to the district as it goes to the north. There is one property that is in the district that has taken the CMU 35 land use classification if this moves forward. The RMU 100 was closer to Adamo Drive, and in the board's determination that it felt that it was on the southern fringe and it faced Adamo Drive, that it was an acceptable solution. So it did receive approval for a positive recommendation.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, thank you. Hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. With me here this evening virtually is Graham Tyrell. Graham is a Senior Vice President for Development at Kettler. Graham is one of the many new Tampa residents that we have welcomed in the last 12, 15 months. And Kettler, together with Daryl Shaw, have been working for some time on a master plan for this portion of Ybor City. It's a portion of Channelside, really a portion of downtown that we're going to talk about here this evening. This project is going to be entitled, it's going to be developed, constructed in phases. We are going to be back before you, met several times. We're going to be here later this year for a PD rezoning. We will see you again early next year for a PDA rezoning. And in those applications, we're really going to flesh out more of the details of the program. But before we're able to advance with those, we do need these comprehensive plan changes approved, particularly because, as Danny alluded to, right now, the parcels we're going to talk about, residential use is entirely prohibited. And as I know this council's had some tough conversations, I know you had some even today about portions of the city where we want to direct growth. This is an area where we believe growth is appropriate. The Planning Commission believes growth is appropriate, and that's what we're asking for. So if I may, I'd like to share my screen and go briefly through the individual parcels. Can I share my screen? Thanks.
There it is.
At various points in my presentation or in Graham's presentation, we might talk about, quote, the master plan or Ybor South of the project. So everyone has a sense of where we are talking about. The areas in blue are the parcels that we have been working with on some time for this master plan development. We're only talking about a few parcels in this blue area today, but just so everyone has a frame of reference about the area we are talking about, it's the area that is a bit west and east of Nucio, a little mostly north of Adamo, but a little bit south of Adamo, and stopping at 15th Street on the east. The red line that's on screen is the Ybor City Historic District boundary. Parcels that are south of that line are not in the Historic District, but the parcels that are north and to the east, up and to the right, those parcels, that is the Historic District. We're talking specifically today about the 4 parcels that are outlined in green, as you'll see there. I'm going to go through these individually so that council has a full appreciation for exactly what we're asking for and what the impacts would be for each parcel. The first parcel is the smallest. It's a 4,400 square foot single family lot. It does have a contributing structure on it, which we have committed to handle through the certificate of appropriateness process. The impact of it, as you can see, and you'll see this as a trend, a good portion of this block is already CMU 35. The western hemisphere of this block is a TECO substation, but you'll see that pink and that red color, which is CC 35, there already is precedent for exactly what we're asking for on this block. The impact is that, first of all, residential use will be allowed. And secondly, you'll see that there is going to be, I'm sorry, I need to change my screen. You'll see that there is going to be an appreciable increase in the amount of commercial square footage that one can develop. Before I talk about the 3 blocks, the 3 parcels that are outside the historic district, I want to touch on 2 things that are in the comprehensive plan that really bear on your considerations this evening. The first is that page 81 of the comprehensive plan references a, quote, South Ybor City area, and the word generally there, this project is generally in that area. We're talking about what's south of 3rd Avenue, and you'll note that the comprehensive plan anticipates the increase in residential development, which I think council believes, we certainly believe is appropriate for this portion of the city. But again, these industrial future land use categories that are in place today prevent and prohibit any residential development. The second item I draw to your attention is that all of the parcels that we're talking about this evening are in the CBD periphery, the Central Business District periphery, which allows for a doubling of entitlement for residential and mixed use projects in an area that are, as it sounds, are on the periphery of the central business districts downtown, where density and intensity are unlimited. So again, I think that augurs in favor of approving these comp plan amendments this evening, so that we can get the type of density that's appropriate for the area in light of its proximity to the business districts. Next parcel, you're looking at the northwest corner of 2nd Avenue and 15th Street. Again, this is a divided block right now. To the west, you see on the left picture, you'll see the CMU 35 that already exists to the west. What we want to do is stretch that eastward to 15th Street. And that's really what we're doing for all of these parcels. We are bringing what already exists to the west, eastward, and stopping at 15th Street, where the historic district starts. Again, the impact, we're going from no residential allowed to potentially 14 units and a significant increase as well if this project will be developed based on FAR, which it will be, because this will be a mixed use project and not run afoul of some of the issues that I know council has discussed regarding single use multifamily projects. Next, we have a parcel that's a city block. It's on Adamo. It's at the northwest corner of Adamo and 15th Street. Again, we are pulling the RMU 100 that currently exists to the west on the other side of the vacated right-of-way, eastward to 15th Street. Pretty significant increase in entitlement here. Typically, as you see with RMU 100, will allow for significant residential density as well. Adamo is a mixed-use corridor. Adamo is also an arterial road. And finally, we have the parcel. This is the furthest away from the historic district. This is a parcel that council will, I believe, see in the somewhat near future. This is the proposed new 4 greenfields. It's really tucked between 2 lanes of the expressway. The property owned by the Expressway Authority. It's really at the end of 12th Street and is one of the doorsteps to the Gasworks parcel that, again, we will talk a lot more about in the rezonings to come. Again, there's a significant amount of RMU 100 to the south, to the east, and to the north of this parcel. So we believe that RMU 100 is a very appropriate change. And note that this currently, unlike the other parcels I've discussed, is actually heavy industrial today, not light industrial. Again, the tail of the tape, you can see that this obviously does create a significant increase in the density, which we believe is appropriate. As Danny and Ron have alluded to, we are coming here today having received a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission and from the Barrio Latino Commission, which we received on Tuesday morning. I think this is the best really way to look at this, and Councilman Dingfelder got caught onto this as well. The picture to the left is what we'll call the before picture, the now picture. And the outline parcels you can see just don't really match with what is surrounding them. It takes these privately initiated map amendments to sometimes catch up with where the puck is going in terms of development, and that is exactly what we're trying to do. We are not asking for any more density than we need. We are asking for exactly what we do need, and what we need, what we've proposed, what we've asked for, I believe is consistent and compatible with the future land use in the surrounding area. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Graham. I'm going to advance the slides at his direction. Graham's going to talk a little bit, very, very big picture view about why we are asking for this. Why are we asking for these industrial pieces to become mixed use and accommodating for residential use? And so with that, Graham, I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, thanks very much, Tyler. Good evening, everyone. Graham Turrell, Senior Vice President with Kettler. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak this evening. As Tyler mentioned, the sort of item we have before you today is really a forerunner to a much larger effort that Kettler's involved in with Darrell Shore. We've been working with Mr. Shore now for probably close to 2 years, trying to put together a plan that involves about 35 to 40 acres of land. And if we could put the presentation back up.
I think it's up, Graham.
It is up?
Yeah, we got
I don't see it, but that's okay. It's up. So it's the slide that shows the connecting neighborhoods?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so obviously this area sits between Channel District and Ybor City to the north, and then to the west of us is Encore. So it includes the Temple Park apartments that are now vacated. And so it really is sort of a sort of an interstitial area between those neighborhoods, very dynamic neighborhoods that are growing quickly. We're also sitting due north of the Union Station area. So, we really see this as a great opportunity for redevelopment to bring sort of much needed density, mixed use density, and really connect the neighborhoods through not only building new buildings, but also ultimately, as you'll see in our presentation of the master plan, through a series of other connections through roads, through trails, through green spaces. If we can go to the next slide.
Yep.
Next slide is a very conceptual presentation of the massing. So obviously one of the things we're very acutely aware of is the fact that Ybor Historic District sits immediately to our north and incorporates the northernmost parcels of the property as well. So we're looking at a plan that really will address that through stepping of the massing. So while some of these parcels will have a density that's much larger than we need, the overall plan here is a more holistic approach to urban development. It's really looking at how we can blend those densities to really create a great sort of urban place that transitions nicely from the historic Ybor and then towards the south. Obviously along the Selman Expressway, we think there's an opportunity for much more density as we get closer to the Channel District. So again, we'll be coming back with a lot more details on this, but really wanted to provide some context this evening as you're looking at these comp plan amendments. And we look forward to having a lot more conversation about these in the near future.
Great. Thanks, Graham. And thank you, Council, for your consideration. We'd ask that you support and approve these comprehensive plan amendments as applied for and presented this evening. And with that, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Steenfeld, you recognize.
I have a question. Mr. Villa, I recall a while back when the adjacent property came in for the RMU 100, your predecessor expressed some concern on behalf of Ybor City about the potential height of the RMU 100. Did that come up in the BLC discussion, deliberations? And Mr. Hudson, what is the potential height for the RMU 100? Is there a limitation?
Sure. So we'll unpack that in order. So yes, that did come up. The questions about height, of course, the first parcel that I mentioned that's in the historic district, its zoning is YC6, which has a 60-foot height limitation. And this is a bit of a trust but verify thing. The rezoning that we're going to bring you, we will show height of less than 60 feet for that parcel that's in Ybor City. RMU 100 doesn't necessarily have a height limit. It does talk about 8 stories up to 24 stories, but there are provisions in the comprehensive plan and certainly in the Ybor City design guidelines about massing and sensitivity to the historic district and buffering. I don't want to put words in the mouth of the Barrio Latino Commission, but the argument and the point that we made is that I think the land development code, the comprehensive plan, and the Ybor City design guidelines arm the Barrio Latino Commission and certainly this council when we come back for rezoning with adequate power to ensure that there's sensitivity and that there's buffering of that density.
Mr. Villa?
I'd like to piggyback on that. As Tyler indicated, there was some discussion as the request came in from 3rd Avenue towards the south. There is that one structure that is contributing. That's one of the parcels that they wanted to redesignate the land classification to CMU 35. The board felt that that discussion was adequate. As you go from that property heading to the south, the other one is CMU 35 as well. That was compatible with the rest of that block. And then as you approach the Adamo corridor, there was some discussion about coming in with another land use classification, which was the UMU 60. The board felt through discussion, and there was a considerable dialogue, that the abutting parcel or block to the west has the RMU 100 tag on it, and they're going to slide that over to the eastern portion, and that is the one that abuts Adamo Drive and 15th Street. So there was discussion, and then ultimately the recommendation came as presented.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else? All right, anybody else speak on this item on the second floor?
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Anybody registered?
There are no registered speakers for this item.
Move to close.
Second.
Ms. Citrus, move to close. Mr. Randall, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Dingfelder, number 5. Number four, I'm sorry. Number 4. Thank you, Mr. Scalco. You already flipped my page.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll move file number TA CPA 2105 for first reading. An ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 1405 and 1417 East 2nd Avenue.
Substitute.
Okay.
Does the clerk have a copy of the substitute?
No, I've got the language of it. All right, we'll start over. Substitute ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 1405 and 1417 East 2nd Avenue, also at 1202 North 15th Street and 802 North 12th Street, from light industrial LI and heavy industrial HI to regional mixed use 100 RMU 100, and at 1302 and 1402 North 15th Street from light industrial LI to community mixed use CMU 35.
Second.
Providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Mr. Dingfelder has made the motion. Mr. Randall, second. Roll call.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goose?
Yes.
Viera? And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried with Briere being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
All right. Item number 5.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Danny Collins, can you share my screen again?
One second, Danny. Mr. Shelby, if Mr. Collins is 589, we can vote, we still vote on those separately?
What, you mean to do all the parks together?
Yeah. It's getting late.
I'm sorry.
Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. This is the only, the last amendment that's before you this evening for adoption. All the remaining amendments are for transmittal.
Okay.
So we have to do this one separately.
Okay. All right, item number 5. Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Our next item is TACPA 2109. This is Daniel Del Rio Pool. It's within the University Planning District, and it's within the East Forest Hills neighborhood. Quick background, it's publicly initiated by Tampa City Council. It's recognized as the existing City of Tampa Park. Daniel Del Rio Pool is listed on the City of Tampa's dedicated park list, and it would recognize the site under the recreational open space designation. Here's an aerial map of the subject sites. It's on the just north of the intersection of North Boulevard and West Linebaugh Avenue. This is just an image looking at this entrance to the pool from North Boulevard. This is looking at Adams Middle School, which is directly to the north of the subject site. Currently, the subject site's under the residential 10 future land use designation. You'll see it's predominantly surrounded by that R10 to the northeast and west. To the south is residential 20. Here's the proposed future land use map showing the subject site under recreation open space designation. The Planning Commission reviewed the request and found it consistent with the policies that relate to promoting recreation and open space opportunities throughout the city. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendment be found consistent with those objectives and policies of the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, city staff, Frank.
There you go.
I think you're muted, sir.
Forgive me. For the record, again, this is Frank Hall with the City Planning Department. This request was routed internally for comments by the city staff, and the city has no objections at this time.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
All right. No applicant, so anybody on the second floor or registered?
No registered speakers for this item.
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Mr. Citro has moved it.
Lord.
Ms. Maniscalco has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Miranda, could you read number 5, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it. File number TA-CPA 2109, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance amending the Image 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 10105 North Boulevard, otherwise known as Danny Del Rio Pool, from residential 10 to R10 and residential 20 to R20 to recreational open space ROS, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Second.
Mr. Miranda has moved it. Ms. Maniscalco has seconded. Roll call.
Goods,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, and Dingfelder.
Yes.
Motion carried with BRB in absence. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Item number 6.
Good afternoon, or good evening, Council. Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. Item number 6 is text amendment 2101. If I can please share my screen. I am just waiting on that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the text amendment to the comprehensive plan allowing a floor area ratio blend in the Central Tampa Planning District. Again, Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. It is privately initiated. The proposed policy will allow a proportionate weight of density and intensity if the subject site is within 2 future land use designations. This will be achieved through approval of a plan development, a PD, or plan development alternative, PD-A zoning. This is currently allowed in the plan today, but it is only allowed within urban villages through the approval of a PD. So the proposed policy would expand this to be allowable within the entire Central Tampa Planning District. So this is the, in our consistency review, we did a little bit of research. I discovered that the urban villages were established in the 1998 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and by the 2009 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, this provision was established to, the blend provision was established to allow for it to integrate a complete mix of uses, and that's a quote from the plan. So all 9 urban villages are located in the Central Tampa Planning District today, and so that's the map that's on the screen now. Those are your 9 urban villages, and the green boundary is the Central Tampa Planning District. And that land area comprises approximately 53% of that planning district. So this request is just expanding something that's already allowable within 53% of the district to be allowable within the entire district. So it was found consistent with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan promotes this compact city form strategy to provide greater density and intensity near the urban villages in which the Central Tampa Planning District is, and it also will allow for greater flexibility in the development process, which will streamline the development of the city form encouraged by the comprehensive plan. and the Planning Commission found this consistent. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions, gentlemen?
Yes, but who's proposing this?
Tyler Hudson, I think it was item number 4.
Yes, sir. Tyler Hudson submitted this request, and he's on your screen.
I'll hear from him first.
City staff, that's right. Who's the city staff?
Good evening. Again, for the record, Frank Hall, with the City Planning Department. The request was routed internally for comment, and the city staff has no objections at this time.
All right, we'll hear from the applicant.
Thank you, Chairman. If I could share my screen. Good evening again. Council members, Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I am the applicant for this text amendment. As Jennifer noted, this is a transmittal hearing. So as far as process goes, what I'm asking today is for you to send this off to Tallahassee to see if the good folks there have any comment, and then it'll come back here for a adoption hearing. But I want to make sure that this council understands full well what it is actually transmitting. So if you'd indulge me a brief overview. You can see where we are in the process. This is from the Planning Commission's wonderfully illustrated plan amendment manual. We are at that local government transmittal public hearing stage. So again, this is going to come back to you for actual adoption. And the question today is whether you're willing to send this off to Tallahassee. This comp plan text amendment is meant to very specifically address a very specific and unique situation that looks like this. Sometimes in connection with a redevelopment plan, you will have different future land use categories that you want to entitle under a consolidated PD, which of course, like with any PD, this council has the ability to approve or to not approve. In the urban villages, there is essentially a special entitlement for what we refer to as blending that I would like to make available throughout the central Tampa planning district, as Jennifer described. Here on screen are some examples of what those look like. And it's the situations where you have perhaps compatible, perhaps incompatible, but future land use designations with different densities. And the challenge that you have outside the urban villages is that, as you can see in the top picture, let's say you have one parcel that has a 1.0 FAR allowed. The next door parcel only has a 0.5 FAR allowed. If you're trying to develop those together under a PD, again, which you would have discretion to approve or deny, outside the urban villages, the 1.0 FAR can only be developed on that parcel 1, similar with parcel 2. That creates an unevenness because you have on the west a parcel that is twice as dense as the parcel to the east. And the way to fix that in the urban villages is to utilize the existing comprehensive plan language, which allows that blending as you see below. But right now, in other parts of the central Tampa planning district that are outside the urban villages, you're unable to do this. This first came up in connection with the project that I was here for on agenda item 4. There are portions of that project that are not within an urban village. And so our first inclination was to change the boundaries of the urban village. But it turns out that that's a little bit more of a cumbersome process because as urban villages often relate to other planning processes like community redevelopment areas and things like that. So that's why this text amendment was filed. This did not come out of thin air. It came up as a result of a very specific situation. However, I believe in Planning Commission staff and the Planning Commission believes it's an appropriate amendment to the comprehensive plan. And again, it is limited in scope initially to the Central Tampa Planning District. I think Jennifer really went through this already. I underlined the portion, this is the actual amendment, is that language that's on screen right now. It would be a new land use policy. But again, the ability to use this blending right assumes that one, you get a plan development or a plan development alternative through this council. So you are not relinquishing at all any of your land use or zoning control. and two, that you have at least an acre. This situation might not come up with a great deal of frequency, but its consequences are pretty severe when you're not able to blend those different land use densities around a site, particularly one that's over an acre, and particularly one that comprises several acres. So with that, I'm happy. Sorry, Jennifer, as she mentioned, this does have the recommendation of Planning Commission staff, and it did receive a unanimous approval from the Planning Commission back in May. So I know you've had a long day. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Ms. Dingfelder, you recognize.
Thank you. Tyler, would you go back a few slides to the example that you showed of parcel A, parcel B, and then the blended?
Yep.
So here's my concern. And we just saw an example of this in that EBOR comp plan amendment that you just put forth. So if parcel 1 has a 1.0 FAR greater intensive, and parcel 2 has a 0.5 FAR, and what if we keep going to the right where it says building envelope, and the parcel over there has an even lower density or is something that we might want to protect, okay, then maybe that would explain why the FAR is different from parcel 1 to parcel 2, is to protect what is over to the right. But if we blend it, we lose some of that protection, because now you've got a greater, more intensive project that potentially could be immediately adjacent to the little lady who's living right there in building envelope.
Yep.
That concerns me. That concerns me greatly, and especially if you're asking us to do it on a blanket level across the entire Tampa Central planning area, which your map basically shows as everything except for New Tampa. So,
sure. If I can respond. I think your concern is well-founded, but it's really that type of protection that we're trying to get, because this, in a situation like you just described, I think if a PD is brought to you or a PDA is brought to this council and there's a belief that too much of the density is pushed up against an edge where it shouldn't be, it's this provision, if adopted, that allows an applicant to push the density further away. So I'm not saying that an unscrupulous developer or property owner couldn't try to exploit this in some way, but I think there are more frequent cases where this amendment, if adopted, allows those transitions. Because right now, in this admittedly very crude and simple example that's on screen, you have the 1.0 to the west and the 0.5 to the right. It could be a situation where it's more appropriate to have a 0.25 worth of FAR on the east where we want to protect, and that 0.25 that is not used can be added to the west. This is a provision that allows flexibility for developers
but as you admitted, that flexibility can be used for good or evil, and that does concern me because we potentially open the door for evil. And even though you say that we can make that decision at the rezoning process, we've been put in many situations where, once the plan amendment is in place and the FARs are in place, we get told that, there's a presumption, in favor of the development and in favor of the developer, and, and that we shouldn't be messing with that. And we get that sort of legal advice, and then we get sued and get pushed in a corner to settle based upon all of this type of stuff. So I don't know. It just seems like a broad stroke with potential concerns. If everybody was as honorable as you are, Tyler, then I wouldn't have a problem. But unfortunately, they're not.
Council, if I could just respond briefly. I mean, what this does is change in what are going to be very, very limited circumstances what you can ask for. And we didn't propose this to be citywide. The Central Tampa Planning District is where, as Jennifer noted, 53% of that Central Tampa Planning District is composed of urban villages. This does not affect South Tampa. That South Tampa has its own planning district. And again, I think that
All right,
this
we'll
is
put up the map of the Central Planning District so you can refresh all of our memories, if you would. Because I think that Central Planning District includes a lot of stuff. Maybe expand that out, yeah.
Yep, sorry. So it's just the area, it is expansive, I agree with that, but it does not go into South Tampa. The kind of teal turquoise outline.
Yeah, I see that. It includes Davis Island, it includes West Tampa, up and down Kennedy, it includes all of East Tampa, includes, I don't know, to the north, it includes all of Seminole Heights, up the river. That's a big chunk of change.
It is, but Councilman, I just recall that this only affects parcels that are developments that are larger than an acre, which this is going to be a somewhat limited circumstance, but it has a very negative effect when it does come into play. And I am happy to meet certainly with you and any of your colleagues to discuss this further. I think council still has a significant amount of power to constrain how this is used. I don't think it's going to be used very frequently. It is already a right that's afforded properties that are in the urban villages. And this, I think, is a modest expansion of that, given the 1 acre requirement. There just aren't a lot of small scale, developments that are going to use this that are under an acre. Again, today is the transmittal hearing. This is not final approval or final adoption. So I would ask that you support the transmittal of this to Tallahassee so that we can continue the process. And again, I believe that this council has adequate legal basis to scrutinize PDs and plan development alternatives that use it. And it doesn't create any presumptions.
Last thing, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hudson, with all due respect, I don't know that you woke up one morning and said, I think we need to do this. I think the reality is you've got a particular project in mind in a particular location. So why don't we focus in on that project and that location and address it in that way on a much more limited basis, as opposed to this broad brush that 2 years or 5 years from now, we sit there and scratch our head and say, why did we do that?
Sure. And Councilman, just for the record, I mentioned that this is for the same project that I was here for in agenda item 4. There are a few blocks within our project footprint that are not in any urban village, but are going to be rezoned in the same 28 acre PDA. And so the density on those parcels, some of which are near the historic district, we can't shift away from the historic district because this provision doesn't exist. So I did not wake up with this idea. This idea came to light after looking into the development program that we are trying to create for this area. So again, to your example of how it can be used poorly, I can't argue against that. That is no question a possibility. But what is much more likely is that the PDA that we want to file in 2 months will utilize this provision to appropriately transition density away from the areas that we know the barrio in the city council is concerned about.
Maybe I could respectfully suggest, and I know council is probably going to kill me for talking anymore, but respectfully suggest that you defer this a little bit and come back with something that's a lot tighter, put on your thinking cap and come back with something that's much tighter as related to this particular project. And, I think overall, from what I can hear and see, I think council's generally supportive of that Ybor project, and I don't see the community opposing it. But I always have, what do they say about using a hammer instead of a fly swatter or something like that? I don't know. It just seems to be a big swat you're taking at a small issue.
You're recognized, sir.
Could I ask legal real fast, just from a scheduling point of view, because our schedule is so tight, is it possible to make that change between first and second reading instead of delaying it, starting over?
Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. This is just a transmittal hearing, so there's no ordinance in front of you right now, so.
Right, but once it's
Just a question.
transmitted, it seems to get a life of its own.
I
It comes
understand.
back and,
If you would like to see changes to it, and it's your decision certainly to determine whether to transmit the amendment as it's presented to you this evening.
But if I could suggest one option that would sufficiently tailor this, and I don't mean to put Jennifer or David or Danny on the spot, because we had gone back and forth about this. If a parcel that is located within a quarter mile of an urban village wants to take advantage of that blending, and it is put into a PD that contains urban village parcels, that would work. And I think that would be appropriate too. And you guys have had a long day, and so I do not want to try to write that on the spot with you all, but that would achieve a good policy outcome and handle our case specifically. But I didn't want to propose legislating by exception, but that might be a way to more narrowly tailor it to the council's pleasure.
So can we edit or amend the amendment? Can we amend it now, or? Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure if Mr. Hudson is prepared, sorry, Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. I don't know if Mr. Hudson is prepared to whittle down the area that he's proposing to have this take effect on, or how would you propose to?
we've got a couple more items to go. Why don't you put on your thinking cap with any of the planning staff that you can, and if we could defer it till another half hour.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Jennifer, can you?
Yes.
Okay.
You have my number.
Okay, thank you. I guess, can we guys continue this item until later in this meeting?
Yes. That's the intent, yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, we'll do that.
I
Thank you.
hope that we can do that, because, I don't want to just throw something off for 30 minutes, and it gets to past that time, because I can tell you, we have a time limit here.
Okay.
So I want to make sure we understand that. So if we don't come and get to it, it's going to be moved on, because I'm not going to go past the hour.
Council, I promise it is not in my interest to make you all stay longer than you need to. So we'll be very quick, I promise. And I appreciate your consideration.
All right. Item number 7.
Good evening, council members. David Hay. May I share my screen, please? All right, hopefully you could see my screen now. Hopefully. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Your next amendment for your review is TACPA 21-04. This deals with the neighborhood mixed use, future land use categories. A little background about the request. This is a city-initiated text amendment that seeks to make changes to the neighborhood mixed use 16, the neighborhood mixed use 24, and the neighborhood mixed use 35 future land use categories. The amendment would remove reference to vertical mixed use, thus allowing all development to utilize the maximum FAR of a 1.5. Currently, only residential development or vertical mixed use can utilize the 1.5 FAR. Non-residential uses are capped at a 1 FAR. The city is also proposing changes to the future land use descriptions for those 3 categories by removing references to neighborhoods serving commercial uses, thus allowing additional flexibility regarding the inclusion of uses deemed commercial general in the zoning matrix. Here we have a map of the land use categories. These three categories came out of the Central City Plan and more specifically the West Riverfront Plan. These categories, which are the NMU 1620, yes, the NMU categories, were designated to implement the vision of those plans. Currently, only the neighborhood mixed use 35 future land use category has been placed on actual land. The main area, and here you can see it on the map on your screen, the main area is found on the former site of North Boulevard Homes. This is the salmon color here. That's all NMU 35. And then a smaller area designated as part of TA CPA 16-03B can be found on the south side of West Cypress Street, about 3 blocks west of North Boulevard in the West Riverfront neighborhood, way down there. As usual, we do send these out to our reviewing agencies. There were no concerns raised by them. The Planning Commission has reviewed the comprehensive plan and found that the proposed language to amend the neighborhood mixed-use districts is consistent with the adopted policy guidance within the comprehensive plan. Your Planning Commission staff found 2 main areas of consistency. Policy direction promotes the mixture of uses in appropriate areas of the city. Though the city is removing reference to vertical mixed use, the overall neighborhood mixed use categories continue and even promotes a mixture of uses both vertically and horizontally. Though Planning Commission staff shares concerns about the loss of the incentive for vertical mixed use, staff understands, the Planning Commission understands that the neighborhood mixed use categories will still provide opportunities for residential and non-residential uses to coexist in proximity to each other. Both the City of Tampa staff and the staff of the Planning Commission will continue to look at ways to further incentivize vertical mixed use, especially along the city's transit emphasis corridors. Overall, the proposed changes to the neighborhood mixed use categories will further the adopted policy language regarding the development of mixed use districts. Also, Land Use Policy 3.5.1 specifically identifies this area west of the Hillsborough River as an area appropriate for the development of medical and educational uses. These uses can leverage their proximity to the University of Tampa and Tampa General Hospital and their new proposed satellite campus on Kennedy Boulevard. By allowing non-residential uses to utilize the category's maximum FAR of 1.5, the city is promoting additional office, educational, and commercial uses to develop in this area. So based on that, your Planning Commission does recommend to you this evening that the proposed text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I see Randy is on and will be available for any questions after. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Any questions of Mr. Hay? David, I had one. Is the specific language part of your presentation, part of your slide presentation? I mean, I know you summarized the language, but
well, the language is actually in the staff report.
Yeah. And then my other question, and Randy, you can answer this while David's looking, is, for example, a CMU 35, what's the FAR?
For CMU 35?
Yeah.
CMU 35 is there's stages, so it depends on where it's located. A basic CMU 35 is a 1.0 FAR by right, and then goes up to a 2 FAR with a bonus. If you're meeting certain criteria about vertical mixed use located on arterials, you get a 1.5 FAR by right, and then with the option to bonus up to a 2 FAR.
Okay, so then my question to either one of you, but probably to Randy, is why would we want to treat the NMU categories, especially the NMU 35, any differently than we do the CMU 35s? You know, especially if those, if the bonuses are there for a reason to encourage certain things that are part of the bonus situation, and to incentivize those bonus attributes, and we incentivize them by giving additional FAR. But if we just give away the farm at 1.5 without any bonus criteria, then what's the incentive for doing any of those positive things? Mr. Gowers.
Yeah, it's a good question, and if I could, I have a couple of slides that explain how we got to this point. So if I could share my screen, please.
Everybody's been sworn? Oh, we're not quasi, excuse me, never mind.
Okay, so this plan amendment came out of a request from the related company based on some challenges they were having in getting approval for the grocery store in the West River area. And how that evolved, really kind of, we have to go back to 2016 or 2015 when the city and the Tampa Housing Authority and the county and the school district partnered to submit the Choice Neighborhood application. That was an application to receive $35 million from HUD to begin the redevelopment of the West River area. And the image on the left is the first plan that was developed for West River. A contingent from HUD in the grant was that we had to show that there was that the property was under a joint ownership, or was owned by a single entity, and that there was it was consistent with a land use and a zoning designation. So the NMU 35 category and plan category was prepared for the plan on the left and was put in place. We did not receive that grant opportunity in 2015. We applied again in 2016 with a different partner in terms of the planner and the development team, and came back with something considerably more mixed use and more dense than the original plan. It still was within the NMU 35 land use category and met all the requirements. We did not receive the grant award in 2016, so the Housing Authority then proceeded with pulling together the resources to implement the plan on their own. A couple of things occurred that we did not envision when the West River, when the NMU 35 was put in place, and that is just a couple of things. This was really envisioned as a joint partnership between all the school board, the housing authority, the city, and the county, and eventually would have translated into a joint development agreement where all the partners would agree to move forward. And we envisioned that there would be a joint site plan that all would come forward all at once. Well, once the neighborhood or the Choice Neighborhood Grant was no longer on the table, and the housing authority began taking responsibility and moving forward, they ended up developing each block separately. In fact, they had two. They started out with the Bank of America as their development partner, and then Related came in afterwards. And so each one of these blocks were developed in accordance to the requirements of the NMU 35 plan category. One of the reasons why the Housing Authority did each block is because the affordable housing projects that they were developing require, funding, the funding programs had certain timelines and certain requirements. Each one also required that whatever you were submitting, you had to show was consistent with the zoning and the site plan. So each one of these blocks were developed separate site plans and were reviewed separately, had their own separate funding mechanisms for each of the projects. So this all worked well all the way through, and you can see until you get to this block here, which is now just a grocery store. And with the size of the grocery store, which is being proposed, it did not. The planning commission staff felt it didn't meet the definition of what a neighborhood serving use should be. We thought a grocery store would serve the neighborhood. And the size of it was a little bit larger than what would be approved under the NMU 35 with the density or the intensity limit. Since they already developed all of this, there wasn't any real land that they could bring forward to help them with their calculations. But when you stand back, it's still the same development plan. The plan that we put forward, it's evolved over the years. It added a grocery store, which adds to the whole mixed-use character. The options that we discussed with the Planning Commission and with the related company, we could have brought it in and just done a plan amendment for a CMU 35. We didn't really want to put a CMU 35 on one site in the district. We thought about amending the NMU regulations. The regulations themselves is what determines the form of the area. That would have taken probably longer than we would have liked. There was also discussion of extending the CBD periphery. We thought that might again create more time and more complications. So we thought that this would be the most applicable solution, because we also have the Rome Yard here, and we feel that this is going to end up evolving and developing in the same manner. We don't think it's, unless there's the related company again comes in with the entire parcel and the site plan, and they have all their funding required for all projects, it's going to end up coming in block by block and being subject to the same review. So we were anticipating that we would probably run into the same situation there when they got into their the blocks with the technology center or one of the other more commercially oriented blocks. So this was an attempt to recognize the mixed-use character of the neighborhood, that it was something that we didn't anticipate when the plan category was developed and the code was developed. And it sort of back then, if they would have had the grocery store first and was able to bring it in with some of the earlier blocks, probably wouldn't have been an issue. But at the same time, we think there's a way to make the project move forward. Otherwise, we have to look at changing the regulations, coming in with the plan amendment, or changing the scale of the grocery store.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just one last comment. Again, with all due respect to Randy and staff who's been working on this, we're changing this entire category to address this particular neighborhood and this particular developer. And it really isn't a whole lot different from what Mr. Hudson asked to do on his project a few minutes ago. Just because it's the city, we probably shouldn't be playing favorites. So it philosophically just bothers me. And especially because, David, there's no limitation. This NMU could be used elsewhere in the whole city for some future date. So if somebody comes in with a plan amendment, says, oh, I like that NMU category better than the CMU because I don't have to do any bonus density, so I want to change my CMU 35 to an NMU and get the automatic bonus, the automatic FAR increase. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing here, Randy, but I'm just saying that because we're changing the entire category, it leaves that potential.
Councilman, this is David Hay with your Planning Commission. If I could share my screen, I do have the language up for your reference. But I also want to address, and you'll see in the language that once it's shared, now I lost, oh, there we go. You'll see that the NMU is pretty unique because it's only allowed within the growth areas, and hopefully you're seeing my screen. And maybe I can zoom in to make it a little bigger here. All right. So it's pretty restrictive on where it could be placed because right now, and it's in your comp plan, it's only allowed in the growth areas, employment centers, recognized urban villages, mixed-use corridors or centers, and transit station areas. So like in a neighborhood, like a Res 10 neighborhood, someone could not ask for that category. Unless it was in it.
But the urban villages takes up half of the city.
Well, they take up about 50% of just the central Tampa. Remember, there are no urban villages outside of the central Tampa planning district. So also, I should note there's specific zoning requirements for the NMU. They can't just ask for like a CI use or anything like that. They have to use either a PD or the NMU zoning districts. But hopefully you can see the proposed language. The things added are in red. The language is stricken through, that's being removed. So I hope that answers your questions. If not, let me know.
And if I could just clarify that the MMU categories do not allow for a bonus like the other mixed-use categories.
Good point.
No, but in regard to the 1.5 for vertical mixed use, effectively that is somewhat of a bonus in itself, or it was, and now you're asking to strike that and allow the 1.5 automatic.
Well, Councilman, this is David Hay again. Just, our point of view at the Planning Commission, it's not a bonus because that's what it's Randy's right. It's not like the CMU where you can buy up to you can buy more floor area ratio. And I know the attorneys don't like me using buy, but you can do the bonus provisions and tie it into a CIP project. But here it's just, these are the maximums. There is no bonus mechanisms. They don't talk to legal to get additional. It's just like right now, non-residential uses are capped at 1. And that's what was the issue with the supermarket was we look at, even though they were coming in as a whole PD, we looked at, because they had parcels within the PD development pods, basically, and we would take and look at each pod individually. So if one pod is only asking for non-residential uses, that pod is capped at a 1 FAR. There's no way to get out of that. And that's where there was some issues once it was looked at through the development process, it really did not function, I don't think, the way it was originally intended. So that's just my opinion.
Mr. Carlson, you recognize.
Two quick questions. Number one, isn't it unusual that the city is making an application for a developer? Why isn't the developer making it themselves? And second, why didn't they include this when they responded to the original development agreement or RFP?
We took it on because it was trying to look at the best way forward for the community in terms of the redevelopment. Plus, again, the Rome Avenue yard is something we were looking at in terms of how it would fare under the same regulations. So we moved it forward as a matter of trying to address the efficiency in the overall concept. In terms of, I'm not sure, your second question, Councilman Carlson, I'm not clear on what you're referring to.
Yeah, my second question was just when as I remember it, they had to respond to an RFP on that deal, and wondering why that wasn't just sorted out then or included as some of the requirements in the RFP. But are you aware of other, sorry if this isn't a fair question, are you aware of other big developments where the city bore the legal costs and the application time and money to apply for a developer?
Well, I think we're looking at it in terms of the city staff does take on text amendments in response to issues that are arising. Whether it's the developer that's moving it forward and we review it and find a consistency, or we take it on and say this is what we think is best for this part of the community. In this case, we were all partners in the redevelopment of the West River area, and we still are partners in the West River area. And it makes sense to try to come up with a solution that will benefit the entire community. And I will say that this plan category and zoning category was developed specifically for this area. So when we developed it as part of a form-based code, we all knew that there may be some need or changes in the future to modify it. So this is not something that we didn't think would necessarily not happen. But as development concepts evolve, we wanted to make sure that we're flexible to respond to for the best project for the community is what we're trying to get.
I got a little confused, Randy. How did the Rome Yard project get intertwined with this public store? I'm kind of confused.
Because the Rome Avenue is under the same plan designation and zoning. And so since it's going to be a project of about almost 1,000 residential units and mixed income or mixed commercial and also some standalone commercial, we feel that we may run into the same situation there where part of it can move forward in phases, and then part of it all of a sudden gets caught in the interpretations of the code. So we're trying to look forward to make sure that this area develops as well as it can, as the way we envision it. And the plan that we see forward, which is developed by the Housing Authority and related group, I think is an example of a mixed income, mixed use community, pedestrian oriented, and provides all the things that we're looking for.
I mean, I would agree with that on that point. I just got confused when you said the Rome Yard project. But this project here has already been already slated and been working on. So that's why I got a little confused.
The Rome Avenue isn't technically affected by what we're talking about tonight. We were just looking based on the proposals that it could be. And we just want to make sure that it isn't.
Any other questions of this gentleman?
Yeah, Randy, you had mentioned that one of the alternatives that you guys looked at before you came up with this one was just to focus on the grocery store and just do a CMU 35. I think you said that, or David, just do a CMU 35 on the grocery store. To me, again, that would have been a lot more surgical using a scalpel instead of a machete. So is it, from a timing perspective, has that train already left the station or what?
Well, I believe the developers do want to move forward on the grocery store as quick as possible. And this is, I think, one of the things that they were that would enable that. We didn't, the CMU 35, yes, it would target it to that specific site. We just didn't see the appropriateness of the CMU 35 at that site.
And is the developer here with us tonight? Randy?
I don't know if they are.
Hi, Councilman. I'm Nicole Neugebauer. I'm here to speak in public comment, but I can go now if you would like.
Are you representing the developer?
Yes.
All right, so we've heard from the city, we've heard from the planning commission, so I guess we'll go ahead and hear from the applicant. Okay. All right, well, Mr. Dingfellow, she's there. You want to hear from him?
Yeah, I mean, this seems to be centered around the developers, even though the city's carrying the water a little bit, so.
I'm confused about that portion too.
Ms. Neugebauer?
Council, if it would help, I mean, we're willing to continue it to the next meeting and work out any of the ambiguities.
Mr. Dingfellow, you want to hear from her or let Randy take it back and we move on?
I'm fine with the continuance, and perhaps, Randy, you and Nicole can come meet with us all individually and give us a little more in-depth, detailed discussion.
If possible, I would like to speak tonight. I'm happy to work with Randy and with staff, but I would like to provide some comment tonight if that's possible.
Steenfeld, you want to hear from her? Or you want?
That's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
I think we're going to go ahead and bring it back. We need to move on. I think, because what I'm hearing from council right now, this train's probably going to have to move tonight. So I prefer we just go ahead and bring it back. Randy, you the council members individually, so we can understand why the city's, involved with bringing it forth, so council members can really know.
What would be the next date we can continue this to, Ms. Shelby?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
But you knew the answer to everything. Is there a night meeting that?
Well, I don't know how long this would take, and if Ms. Neugebauer, it would take 3 minutes, council, it may make a decision in terms of how much time they need and whatever, you can inquire of her. I don't know how you wish to proceed. You want to pick a date you're not coming back till July, your next night meeting is the 22nd. And I don't know how this does with the cycle of transmittals I don't know, Randy, how does this affect, or David, how does this affect your process for transmittals?
I'll defer to David on the scheduling part of it.
I can, David,
Oh.
sorry.
There's Jennifer, sorry.
Hi, I can chime in. We were planning on transmitting this, so after this hearing today, if this is approved for transmittal, it would be sent to DEO, and the date that we had targeted for adoption was the evening of September 30th. It's my understanding that City Council has created that night. We have a number of plan amendments that we're coordinating on returning from the Department of Economic Opportunity, including the one that was before this on the agenda and 2 more after this. So I hope that helps answer your question.
Yes, the question would be, what if it's continued and for how long? What effect would that have?
Ideally, it could be continued. I think that it needs to be, as long as it's continued, it needs to be transmitted to DEO within 10 working days of the date that it's heard by council. If it's continued for just a little bit, then we would have enough time to still hit that September 30th adoption hearing date. So I guess I would just caution that it's not continued for too long. Unless it needs to be heard on another night that's not September 30th, which is set aside for plan amendments.
Mr. Carson, recognize.
Yeah, one question, if we continue this, one question that I'd like answered by the time we hear it again, you don't have to answer it tonight, but one is, I already asked, was why the city's presenting it instead of the developer. But the second thing is as I remember it, these properties were developed through RFPs, and was it a condition of the RFP that that the developer had to present a proposal that fit within the current rules, or was there flexibility in the RFP? Just a question to be answered by the next meeting. Thank you.
And I would ask council, perhaps allowing the representative to speak in case there was any timing questions that the continuance might affect.
And Mr. Chairman, I might also point out this is a public hearing. It's set for a public hearing, and she was going to speak under public comment. So if you want to hear her before the continuance, you'd have that right for 3 minutes normally.
There are a lot of questions, Mr. Shelby, that need to be answered.
Yes, sir.
I prefer to just go back. Mrs. Velez is here, and then come back with growth management, development management, and come back with a date. We have to walk on, we'll do that, and see what's going to fit in a time frame to get it transmitted if the council decides to do it at that particular time.
Council, the evening of July 22nd,
we made some allowances for a lot of things going forward up until the end of the year. So if that has to be fit in, that may need to be worked out, and it may not be able to be worked out tonight.
Your next, do you want it for a day meeting? I don't know whether there's any prohibition against having it for a day meeting, but your next night meeting is on July 22nd, and there are 13 hearings that night.
Mr. Shelby, let's just let Ms. Velez is here.
Yes.
And let her go back, Mr. Groves, and whatever we can come up with, we can do it as a walk-on then, sir. I mean, I don't want to belabor the time.
When you say walk-on, what do you mean?
I'm just saying bring it back.
Bring it back this evening?
Not this evening, no, sir.
Oh,
I'm
no,
just
this
saying,
is
what I'm saying is, we may not be able to get a certain date this evening because they've already kind of they're making the schedule as we go along. Am I correct? That's what the deal was, that would make it out.
No,
And
sir, I don't believe so. My understanding is this is a meeting that was noticed for this evening, and it needs to be continued to a date and time certain.
I understand that, but right now, we don't have a date and time certain because of the continual schedule with Mrs. Feely and their office and legal to schedule these dates in. I remember we had a meeting to add on extra dates to the calendar for these hearings, correct?
You have, if during your hearings, a continuance needs to be granted, it has to be noticed to a date and time certain. It has to be continued to a date and time certain, otherwise it has to go through the process again of being noticed properly. And that, therefore, we treat this the same way we do every
What date we have,
public
Madam
hearing.
Clerk? What date do we have available? Michelle, what date we have available?
The next available is July 22nd.
The next regular meeting, or not night meeting?
Night meeting.
Night meeting?
Night meeting.
And that night meeting, council, you presently have, it starts at 6 o'clock, and you have 5 alcoholic beverage, 5 land lease rezonings, a DRI, and a continued plan amendment and a continued rezoning, a total of 13 items. It's your call, council. I mean, this is a transmittal public hearing. It shouldn't take long. We don't know, but look what happened tonight. So you're right. I stand corrected.
Against my better judgment, really against my better judgment, I'll go with, was it 29th you said?
The 22nd
better
of July. Is that correct? Did I say that correct?
That's correct, July
Ms.
22nd.
Citro, you have a question?
I just have a question procedurally, and please, council, just help me out on this. Is it Neubauer, Ms. Neubauer? Is that how you pronounce it?
Neubauer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Neubauer is here. She was going to speak during public comment. She has notified us that she represents the developer. She has been sitting here waiting patiently, waiting to say something, and when she started to say something, she was just cut off. Now, procedurally, she has the right to say something on behalf of the developer. Am I right or wrong? If not, she has the right to say something during public comment. If we are continuing this case, she still has the right to say something pertaining to the continuance of that. Is that procedurally correct?
Generally, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Neubauer has been sitting here waiting patiently.
You might even have the answer.
Yes.
Well, if I may.
Please, Ms.
Counsel
Johnson-Velez.
Susan Johnson-Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. So this comp plan amendment affects a number of land use categories and changes to those specific categories. So the Ms. Newberger, I think is her name? Neubauer, sorry, is here as a developer of one project who may be affected by this change. And so
May be affected by it.
correct, but this is publicly initiated by the city, so I don't want you to get mixed up. We're talking about the developer who's putting, I don't want anybody to, I just want to avoid any confusion that this is.
Thank you, Ms.
being
Velez.
Then, you see, I asked for a procedural question. Again, this woman has been sitting here patiently, whether to speak during public comment or not. So I just thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you, Ms. Velez.
Salud.
Gotcha.
But what I will do, Mr. Citro, even though Ms. Velez has given me what I knew, the road I was on,
So,
I would allow the young lady to speak because, you know, she has spent some time here, even though Ms. Velez gave me my answer, and I appreciate that.
and Mr. Chair, it's your show.
So
you can decide.
Ms. Neubauer, what is it, Neubauer? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Neubauer,
I'm gonna let you speak, okay? Then we're gonna bring for a landing, and then we're gonna move on. Either we get our answer or we get a continuance and we move on. All right? You may go.
Given all of the discussion tonight, I think that we are in a position that we can move forward with the continuance. I thank you for having such a spirited discussion, and I have taken down your comments and your concerns, and we're happy to work with you offline to work this out with everyone. And we're okay with the continuance as long as it's as long as this is heard as soon as possible. And I do want to emphasize that I think it's been kind of confused. We are not the applicant. We are just here to provide public comment. The city has initiated this amendment. We can work out offline the reasons for that, but just wanted to put that out there and set the record straight.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Shelby, continuous date, please, sir.
Pardon me?
Continuous date, please, sir. Continuous date, please, sir.
A continuance date. Council, the next evening meeting, Ms. Velez, you'd agree, is the evening of the 22nd, to add on an additional hearing on the evening of the 22nd at 6 p.m.? This would be a continued transmittal hearing of a plan amendment, of a text amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. Say what, Mr. Carlson. We need a roll call on that, Mr. Shelby, or no?
Yes, sir, please.
Roll call.
Just to clarify, is that 5:01 PM or 6 PM?
You could put it at 5:01, and that would be, but everything right now is presently set for 6 o'clock, but you had discussed previously setting things for 5 o'clock. If it only takes a few minutes, you might have to wait till 6 o'clock for other items. So it's your call whether you want it 5 or 6.
5:01, then we don't pack up the rest.
Exactly.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Cedro?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Viera. Motion carried with Viera being absent.
Thank you.
Wow, there's a dirt road way down.
6 and 7.
5 o'clock. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. You know,
Thank you.
item number 8. You know, we've had.
This is Danny Collins. Can you share my screen, please? This is Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. Our next case is TACPA 2107. It's Temple Crest Park. It's in the University Planning District, and it's within the Temple Crest neighborhood. Just a quick background, this is publicly initiated by Tampa City Council. I would recognize Temple Crest Park under the recreation open space category. Here's an aerial map of the subject site and the surrounding properties. It is generally located southwest of East Yukon Street and North 37th Street. This is looking south of the subject site from North 37th Street, and then this is looking west along Riverview Drive. Here's an aerial map, or here is a future land use map. Majority of the subject site's current open space category. The northern portions of the site are within the residential 10, and then the southern portion is within the residential 20 designation. As proposed, it would bring the entire site under that recreation open space designation. The Planning Commission reviewed the request and found it consistent with the recreation open space policies in the plan. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends that TACPA 2107 be found consistent with the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right, city staff.
Good evening. For the record, this is Frank Hall with the City Planning Department. This request was routed internally for comment by the city staff, and the city has no objections at this time.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Thank you.
gentlemen? Anybody in the public to speak on this item registered?
There are no registered speakers for this item.
Anybody on the second floor?
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item.
Move the transmittal.
Mr. Tito has moved it.
Move to close. Sorry, move to close.
All right. Mr. Tito has moved it. Mr. Scalco, you second it, sir? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Maniscalco, we're back to you, sir. Number 8.
Thank you very much. Move to transmit.
Second.
See what's happening when it gets late like this and we all get confused? All right, Mr. Maniscalco, Mr. Manoranda, second it. Roll call, please.
Viera. Dingfelder.
Yes.
Cedro.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Miranda? And Maniscalco? Motion carried with Briere being absent.
Item number 9.
Danny Collins, can you share my screen again? Danny Collins again with the Planning Commission staff. This is TA CPA 2108. This is Last Park being heard tonight. This is Woodlawn Cemetery. It's in the Central Tampa Planning District, and more specifically, it's in Heights Urban Village. This request would recognize Woodlawn Cemetery under the Recreation Open Space designation. Here's an aerial map of the subject site and surrounding properties. It's generally north of West Plymouth Street and just east of North Boulevard. Here's an image looking west of the subject site from North Old Avenue. This is looking south at the subject site from West Indiana Avenue. Currently, the subject site's recognized under the public, semi-public future land use designation. This is the proposed future land use map showing the subject site under that recreation open space designation. Planning Commission reviewed the request and found it consistent with policies in the plan that talk about the recreation and open space opportunities within the city. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission recommends that the proposed map amendments be found consistent with the City of Tampa's comprehensive plan. This concludes my presentation.
Any questions? Mr. Dingfelder?
Just a quick comment. We all received an email from one of our constituents, and she said, "How dare you turn that cemetery into a park? Shame on you." I mean, we have no morals or values or anything like that. But anyway, I just wanted to assure her and anybody else watching that that's not the case. The cemetery is sacred ground. We all know it's sacred ground, and it will always remain a cemetery. As a matter of fact, this will protect it even more so, and never allow anything to be developed or on it. So, just wanted to clarify that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. City staff?
Good evening. Again, Frank Hall with the City Planning Department. This request was routed internally for comment by the city staff, and the city has no objections.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Anybody in the public, any comments? Registered?
There are no registered speakers for this
Anybody on
item.
the second floor?
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
We'll close.
So moved.
Mr. Maniscalco has moved it. Mr. Miranda, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Carlson, you transmit for us, please.
Yes, and just for the record to repeat what Mr. Dingfelder said, this is to protect the cemetery. So I'll move to transmit.
Second.
Mr. Carlson moved it. Mr. Citro, second. Roll call.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Viera? Citro?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
And Dingfelder?
Yes.
Motion carried with Briere being absent.
All right, we'll go back to number 6. They say Mr. Hudson is ready.
Jennifer
sir.
Malone. Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission staff. In the interim, I worked with Tyler offline, or Mr. Hudson, to come up with some language that he'll present for you right now.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I'm going to be very quick. If I could share my screen to show you the text on screen. Okay. We heard Council loud and clear that you do not want the cleaver, but instead a scalpel, and that is exactly what we have come up with. What you see on screen is Land Use Objective 5.1, which is the section of the comprehensive plan that addresses urban villages. This portion here, Land Use Policy 5.16, is where that blending right that's currently exclusive to urban villages resides. My proposed language that Jennifer has reviewed is in bold underline. It still only applies to the Central Tampa Planning District, but we have further narrowed the scope of it to land that is within half a mile of an urban village boundary. It still must go through the PD or PDA approval process for projects that are at least 1 acre in size. I think this sufficiently narrows down the scope of this to the rare instances where this is going to come up, but those rare instances, it is a very negative consequence unless this amendment is adopted. So I would ask that you transmit this up to Tallahassee this evening, and we can have a more complete discussion when it comes back in a few months. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Dingfelder?
It looks like an improvement. Thank you, Tyler and Jennifer.
Thank you for your time and allowing us to do this on the fly. I know you have a busy night.
All right, we've heard it. I don't think we have anybody on the second floor, any registered folks for this, number 6.
No
So-
registered speakers for this item.
Eileen Rosario, Development Growth Management. There is no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Ms. Maniscalco has moved to close. Mr. Citro, second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Citro, can you have number 6 for us, please? Transmittal.
I'm coming back to it. Thank you very much. Number 6, I'll move the transmittal. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
As amended, right?
As amended.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Citro has moved it, Ms. Smith second with the amendment. Roll call.
Viera, Dingfelder,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Roots,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Maniscalco. Motion carried with Viera being absent.
All right, move to item number 10.
Move to open hearings 10 through
Mr. Moran is open. 10,
14, or
13.
14, though we did 14.
Yep. Mr. Moran has opened hearings from 10 to 13. Mr. Citro has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're open. Item number 10.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Jan McLean with the Office of the City Attorney. Bringing you tonight is the second and final public hearing for a proposed brownfield area designation. An application has been submitted for this brownfield rehabilitation pursuant to Chapter 376. It was submitted by Graystar Development East LLC and property owners Cantor Spellman Family Partnership LLLP and Glenn Richard and Tina Marie Becker as co-trustees of the Glenn and Tina Becker Revocable Living Trust for the property. The property is generally located in the vicinity of 7210 Inner Bay Boulevard, consisting of approximately 25.96 acres in the city of Tampa. The details of the designation have been outlined in a document that was provided to you entitled The Staff Report on the Inner Bay Redevelopment Area Proposed Brownfield Area. City staff has reviewed this and determined that all statutory and public notice requirements have been met and recommends that council approve this designation. At the conclusion of this second public hearing, council would please, if so considered, have the opportunity to pass a resolution as included in the SIRE packet by reading the title of the resolution and designated the property at issue here as a brownfield area as specified in Chapter 376 of the Florida statutes. And I'm here to answer any questions. We also have, I believe, on virtual is the representative of the developer. If you have any questions, also Dan Fahey of the Environmental Programs Department of the city to answer any questions.
Ms. Citro, you recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ms. McLean, just to be specific on this for the community and the citizens of Tampa, this is just to designate a brownfield area and has nothing to do with any type of development that we done on this land.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anyone else for Ms. Clean? Any discussion for her? All right, we'll move on to the applicant.
Mr. Hearn, I don't know if you want to make any comments or not, or?
Nope.
I don't think that's Mr.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
There. I think, can you hear me now?
We got you.
I apologize. Yes, we're not going to make any presentation at this time. I'm just here in the event that the council would like to ask any questions.
Any questions of the applicant? All right. Anybody from the public?
There are no registered speakers for this item.
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Maniscalco move to close, Mr. Miranda second, all in favor?
Aye.
All, any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Dingfelder, you read the resolution, sir?
Sure.
Number 10.
Okay, in regard to Brownfield 21-68148. We just had the public hearing, and I'll move the following resolution. Resolution designating a brownfield area within the city of Tampa, Florida, upon an application from site developer Graystar Development East, LLC, and property owners Cantor Spellman Family Partnership, LLLP, and Glenn Richard and Tina Marie Becker as co-trustees of the Glenn and Tina Revocable Living Trust for property located generally in the vicinity of 7210 Interbay Boulevard, consisting of approximately 25.96 acres for the purpose of environmental rehabilitation and economic development, providing an effective date.
Mr. Dingfelder has read it. Mr. Miranda seconded. Roll call.
Miranda,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
and Maniscalco. Motion carried with BR being absent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good
Item
evening.
number 11. You break. All right, our clerk needs a break at 5 minutes. Yeah, right, yeah, they call. Yeah, yeah. Give her a break.
Little boy blue, please come blow your horn. Little boy blue, please come blow your horn. My baby gone and left me. Left me all alone. The sheep's in the meadow and the cows in the corn. I got a girl in Chicago. She let me hear me blow my lonesome horn. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. My baby gone and left me. She left me all day long. Take my whipping whooper, I'm gonna whip it down to the ground. I'm gonna take my American star, I'm gonna turn it round and round. Little boy blue, please come blow your horn. My baby gone and left me. She left me all day long. Little boy blue, please come blow your horn. Little boy blue, please come blow your horn. My baby gone and left me. She left me all day long.
talking on the internet, thinking we could be a match. We started chatting it up with a laugh or two, and I was surprised about that. Just kicking it, hanging out. We got potential, there's no doubt. But now this works, let's keep it right. So listen up, girl, and this advice. You manage my weekends. Well, but not my life. You're my girlfriend, but not my wife. Not my wife. Here's another thing, listen. I never ask you where you go. No need to tell me where you're at. No explanation, no signed contract. And in return, I want that back. You know I love you, I told you so. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. So dig yourself, gonna be alright. Listen up, baby, I'm saying it twice. You manage my weekends. Oh, yeah. Not my life. Not my life. Not my life. You're my girlfriend. You're not my wife. You're not my wife. Doesn't mean I don't love you, though, baby. Listen. You, yes, manage my weekends. Just ask anybody, baby. But not my life. You're my girlfriend. I hear you, baby. But not my wife. Oh, not my wife. It'll always be more than less. But let's step back and give this time before you pick a wedding dress. You got to learn to trust, give respect. You do the cooking, I'll clean the mess. Till the ring's on your finger and the throw on the rice. Listen up, girl, I'm saying it nice. You manage my weekend. You can manage my weekend. Not my life. Oh, come on. You're my girlfriend. You're my girlfriend, baby. Not my wife. But back up a little bit. Let's say it again. You manage my weekends. Yeah. But not my life. Yeah. You're my girlfriend. Good girl, baby. You're not my wife. At least not yet. Not my wife. Right here. I'm not opposed to propose, my love. I have no complication with cohabitation.
Maniscalco. Dean Felder.
Here.
Citro.
Yes.
Vieira. Miranda. And Goods.
Here.
We have a physical quorum present.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Item number 11.
Thank you so much. Zane Hussein here, Development Coordination. Can I please be sworn in with the rest of my staff?
Ms. Manasseh's there too tonight, huh?
Do you swear or affirm you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Can I also please have control of the screen? Great. Zane Hussein here, Development Coordination, case AB 221-12. The applicant is Local Dialect LLC, representative name Jordana Lafayette, property address 5023 North Florida Avenue. This is a request for a special use approval to allow the sale of alcohol beverages for a small venue, beer and wine, consumption on premises and package sales off premises consumption. The proposed use is a brewery with a tasting room. The AB sales area on the interior here is 8,421 square feet. The exterior is 1,530 square feet. for a total of 9,951 square feet. The site shows 3 driveway access points off East Wilder, the alley to the east, and North Florida Avenue. The parking required for the site is 28.6 parking spaces, and the site plan here shows there to be 29 provided. The hours of operation indicated on the site plan are from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. Monday through Sunday. The waivers requested here are from section 27-132. It is to reduce the minimum distance to other establishments selling alcohol from 250 feet to 11 feet. The distances specified within the urban villages are 250 feet from other AB sales establishments. 111 feet away is the independent bar and cafe at 5016 North Florida Avenue. Looking at the site overhead view, you see the extent of the AB sales area. An overhead view here, aerial map, you'll see the area outlined in red. To the west, you have North Florida Avenue. To the north, you have East Wilder Avenue. To the east, you have North Sewanee Avenue. And to the south, you have East Violet Street, all around the property. I went out to the site and took pictures. As you see the subject site as it currently is. To the north of the site, you see North Florida Avenue, up and down, vertical. To the west of the site, you have a Dollar Tree across the street. To the south of the site, you have North Florida Avenue. The Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed the application and finds it inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa Code of Ordinances. Minor corrections to the site plan are needed between first and second reading. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions? All right. Mr. Shelby, recognized.
Just for clarification, the proposed AB sales hours on the agenda versus what's on the staff report, if you could just have confirmation.
City staff?
Correct. It is consistent with Chapter 14, but on the site plan, is from 12 p.m. till 12 a.m., Monday through Sunday.
12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And that's what's on the site plan?
Correct.
And Chapter 14 is not 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. I just want a clarification of that. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll hear from the applicant. We have an applicant registered, or?
They're registered and they're also logged on. They only have to turn on their camera and unmute themselves.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Jordana, and I'm here
One second. We gotta get you sworn in, okay?
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
You can state your name.
My name is Jordana Lafate.
And you're the business owner, the applicant?
I'm the representative for the applicant.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I don't have anything further to add. I'm just here to answer any questions as they come up.
Okay. All right, we have anybody in the public speak on this item?
We did have a registered speaker named Jennifer Cruz, but she's not logged in.
Anybody on the second floor speak on this item?
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. I have 2 people here that would like to speak on this item, and they both have been sworn in. Thank you.
All right, give me one second, young lady. Mr. Sitchell, you want to be recognized, sir? I'm sorry, I
Yes,
missed
please, if you don't mind, is the applicant or the agent for the applicant still there, please?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You're asking for a off-premises package sale
Is this establishment a microbrewery? Will you be selling the microbrewed beer and growlers, or is this a full wine and beer package store of products that you will not be making?
I believe it will be items made from the brewery that will be sold on premises.
You believe or you know for sure?
I believe we also have the applicants or the owners online here. If they can join in, they can chime in and give you a.
All right,
We'll
they
need
be
to
sworn in.
swear them in.
You swear them in?
Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
The other right.
I do.
Thank you.
He got it right.
Okay.
All right.
What did-
State your name, please.
State your name for the record, please.
Michael Conzi.
Thank you very much. Is this a microbrewery, and will you be selling your own brew?
Yes.
So there will, and so you also make wine too?
I do not make wine, no.
But you'll
we
be
will
selling wine?
Correct. Come again?
But you'll be selling wine in your package store?
Not as packaged, just as if people want poured wine, it's tasting it.
So it's just for the sell of the growlers, more or less, correct? And
More
your
or
own brew
less.
cans? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Velez?
I'm sorry, just Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. Councilman Citro, I know you've asked this question before, but you cannot control what they sell between, this is just, we would approve the sale of beer and wine.
Again, I do have a point to this.
Okay, I just
And,
want to
and
clarify.
I'm not trying to control what they're going to say. I'm just asking what they'll be selling.
I just wanted to clarify.
I did not
I'm so nervous.
lay down parameters. I asked, was this their brew or were they selling things? And did they make their own wine? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Judge. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chairman, just for purposes of the record.
You're recognized, sir.
Just as we always point out to council, this runs with the land, and if it's a
Correct.
microbrewery today, it might not be a microbrewery tomorrow.
Correct.
Any other questions for the applicant? Go back to the applicant. I have a question, please, sir. Okay, this is not on our monitor here. Okay, I gotta look up in the sky there. There we go. To the applicant, is there any music or any amplified sound outside or any type of amplified sound?
We don't intend to have amplified music outside.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm sorry, but I just want to be clear that with regard to that, I don't believe that what the representations they make at the hearing is binding on the applicant or future users. So if it's not on the site plan, it's not enforceable. Just a reminder, Council.
Correct,
Thank
sir.
you.
Correct.
Come on, Ms. Feely, with your ordinance.
All right. We'll go ahead and hear from the second floor. You state your name and be sworn in.
I've been sworn in.
Okay, she's been sworn. That's right. Miss Eileen's down there. That's right.
Evening, Council. My name is Jennifer Cruz, and I live at 6007 North Hale Avenue, Tampa, Florida, 33614, located in the Egypt Lake Lato area, and I've lived in this area for over 15 years. I'm currently a student in the Public Policy and Administration program at St. Petersburg College. I'm here to speak to you on file number AB221-12. The applicant is seeking council approval for a special use 2 permit for alcoholic beverage sales. Look at 5023 North Florida Avenue in Seminole Heights Urban Village and Seminole Heights Historic District. Approval of this permit will allow the applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Conzi, to sell alcohol for consumption on the premises as well as package sales for off-premises consumptions. After speaking with Urban Planner 1 in the Growth Development Department, Mr. Brett Burks, who's been working with the city for 2 years now, it seems that the applicants have met majority of the guidelines necessary, but there is a waiver request to reduce the minimum distance to other establishments selling alcohol from 250 feet to 11 feet. Mr. Burke stated that council would need to grant that waiver in order to approve the special 2-use permit. The applicants, Mr. and Mrs. Conzi, are well known in the community. I got the opportunity to speak with Ms. Kendra Conzi, one of the owners, and learned that their business, Healthma, is already located in that area. This new location will allow them to operate both the brewery and the pet grooming store from one location. This location will also allow them to become owners rather than renters. Kendra and her husband have been doing things to give back to the community as well, such as providing a food pantry during a pandemic. Kendra has been part of the Business Guild of Seminole Heights. Both her and her husband have been part of other nonprofit organizations that have been giving back to the community as well. Members of the community also took the time to send in letters in support of the business owners. They are looking forward to the new and bigger location. For this reason, I recommend that council grants the waiver that will allow them to also approve the special use permit too, so that Kendra and her husband can continue to give great service to the community. Thank you, council members, for your night.
All right, who's your professor?
Professor K.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Anybody else?
One more person.
All right.
Who's gonna clean and disinfect first?
You state your name, be sworn in, sir?
Hello, yes, my name is Dean Tidy. I live at 5016 North Sewanee Avenue, directly behind the proposed business.
All right, she'll swear you in.
Yes.
You already sworn, I'm sorry. You're on the second floor, I apologize. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, so I have some concerns about noise, only because I live directly across from the Independent, which has already been stated is 11 feet away from this building. And we've already had issues in the neighborhood. Well, this is a constant struggle with noise from the Independent, because they are also a live music venue, and they have music outside. I've lived at this address for 15 years, and the noise in the neighborhood just keeps ramping up all the time. And so the more we complain about it, the louder it seems to get. So this is right behind my house and my neighbors, and I don't believe that having a live music venue is not going to create any noise. I'm delighted that something would go in that property, but I'm not sure that Seminole Heights is struggling for breweries. I mean, there's so many breweries on Florida Avenue already. I was just here to voice some concerns about the noise. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Zain Hussein here, Development Coordination. I just want to clarify with the agent that between first and second reading, there will be a clarification about no amplified noise outdoors, please. That's number one. And number two, a correction to a part of the site plan here, or the staff report here. It is 111 feet distance between the establishment and the next AB sales. 111, not just 11. So, Jordana, is that
Yes.
clear between the
Well,
first and
yes.
second reading, please?
Yes, we'll make those corrections between the readings.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members before we move to close?
Yes, sir.
You have a question, Mr. Jenko?
Yes,
You
sir.
recognize it.
I apologize, I had to step out for a second. Noise and hours of operation have we addressed either one in terms of any modification of the conditions?
I think she addressed it, Mr. Hussein addressed it. There will be no outside amplified sound, correct, sir?
And that's gonna be on the, as a condition on the site plan?
Yes, we'll provide that plan.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman, if we could also,
One second. Mr. Citro, I'll go Mr.
Thank you. I believe the applicant said there was no intent. Didn't give a definite yes or no.
All right, well, let's hear a definite yes or no, and then if they have no objection, then we would put it on the site plan.
We will not have any amplified outdoor music.
So you have no objection if we include it on the site plan?
No objection here.
Okay, and then the second question, let me finish number two, Ms. Shelby. All right, go ahead.
oh no, normally you put down no outdoor amplified sound as opposed to just defining music. You use the word sound generally.
Thank you. And then the second question that relates to the hours, are you really gonna be open till midnight 7 days a week? Or do you plan on, 10 o'clock on weekdays or what have you?
Yeah, we don't intend on being open midnight every single day of the week. Probably, we remembered it was midnight, potentially Friday and Saturday, and between 8 and 10 closing Tuesday through Thursday. We'll probably close on Mondays.
Okay, so for your site plan, how about, very often we do, Fridays and Saturdays till midnight and 10 p.m. the rest of the week. Is that okay with you, or?
Would it be possible to make it to 11? Is that a thing that would be acceptable?
Well, I guess I don't know who's near you. You're on Florida Avenue, so chances are there's probably homes within, spitting distance behind you. I guess I just want to make sure, I don't want to cramp your style, and people do like these types of establishments on Florida Avenue, but if it's 7 days a week till midnight, then I think it becomes burdensome on the backstore neighbors. So tell me what your business plan is.
Yeah, that won't happen. We live 2 blocks from the building. Also, we're within earshot of Independent and all that anyway, so we understand it and definitely sympathize with the sound issue.
It's a sound issue, and it's a parking issue, as you know.
Correct. Absolutely, yes, sir. Absolutely. So yeah, we're fine tailoring our hours to make that a more amenable for the neighborhood for sure.
Is that 10 o'clock amenable?
All right, how about midnight Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and 10 o'clock the rest of the week? Are you okay with that? I don't want to twist your arm. You have to agree or disagree.
Yeah, it's tough to go with right now because we don't have, if we were open already and we could see what the traffic looks like at that time. But I mean, if that's, we would prefer to have like a little wiggle room in the sense that we're going to put it on the site plan, that if we had it till at least like 11 during the week, I think that would make it a little bit more comfortable for us. But realistically, we'll probably be open till 10, Monday through or Tuesday through Thursday.
All right. So, for the sake of this evening, how about 10:30 the rest of the week, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, midnight?
Okay, I think that's more than fair. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Scott, move to close. Mr. Miranda, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I think Mr. Miranda, it's your shot, sir.
Number 11, file number AB2-21-12. Move an ordinance for first reading consideration, ordinance approving a special use permit SU2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue consumption on premise, and package sales off premise consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 5023 North Florida Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in section 2, from providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict or repeal, providing an effective date. And with the notice of operations that are noted by what the petitioner said, and I forgot what they were.
10:30 p.m. from Sunday through Wednesday, right? And 12 p.m.
Is that what you said, sir? Sunday through Wednesday, you're closing at 10:30? I don't know.
I think that's what.
And then you got Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at what time? Midnight.
Yeah.
Those are that's in, we put that in your site plan. Okay, and no amplified music outside, right?
Yes.
That's what I heard. Okay. Condition between first and second reading.
I have one question. As far as the amplified music thing, is that just blanketly like from anytime to anytime, or is that past a certain point in the day?
That means no amplified music outside, period.
But are you having second thoughts about that?
Okay, then fine. Can you swear me in so I can talk about this?
Push him right aside.
You better kill the deal.
Okay, we know who the boss is.
Swear her in right away, Michelle.
Do you,
Open the public hearing.
We open here. She must be
So move to open the public hearing.
do you swear or affirm you would tell the truth? Do you swear or affirm you would tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
The reason why the amplified noise thing, I'm kind of teetering on it is because originally I thought it was going to be one of those things like no amplified noise after like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whatever. I had this idea that I thought sounded really nice of like a bluegrass brunch where on like every other Sunday we could have like a cute little like trio come out and people enjoy some barbecue and some beer, and that sounded really nice. And I do think every once in a while for like occasional events, it is nice to have that option. So to blanketly take that away, I think just takes away a lot of flexibility for our business plan. And so for me, that is concerning to say that we can never like have anything for the community to enjoy as far as like actual live music, especially when right across the street, there are several places on Florida Avenue have live music, and they're also open much later than we're going to be. Independent is open until 1 o'clock. So they're open later. They do live music later in the evening. I don't have plans for that, but I do think it adds to the like feel of the community to be able to offer some of those things, at least in the daytime.
Ms. Devo, you recognize?
Okay. Well, we appreciate you speaking up because I think I can speak for council. We do want to work with you and we want you to be successful. But at the same time, we obviously want to be sensitive to the neighborhood, and you're part of the neighborhood. But anyway, so how about no amplified sound after 10 p.m.?
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm fine with that if everybody else is.
Mr.
Thank you.
Maniscalco has moved to close. Second, right?
Second, we
Second
met.
by Mr. Miranda. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right, so I'll change the amplified music to no later than 10 o'clock, no amplified music after 10 p.m. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Second. All right, Mr. Miranda has moved it. Mr. Maniscalco has second. Roll call.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Yes. Citro?
No.
Viera? Miranda?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
And Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried with Viera being absent. Citro voted no. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
All right. Item number 12.
Thank you. Zain Hussein here, Development Coordination. Can I please have control of the screen?
Sign, you actually have control of the screen.
Okay, wonderful. Can everyone see my screen right now? Trust me. How about now? Great.
Yes, sir.
Case AB 221-09. The applicant here is Mason Du Cigar, LLC. Representative name is John Grandoff. Property address here is 3225 South MacDill Avenue, Unit 103 and 105. The request here is for a special use approval to allow the sale of alcohol beverages for a small venue, beer, wine, and liquor, consumption on premises and package sales, off premises consumption. The proposed use is a bar, lounge, and retail sales. The property currently has an approved alcoholic beverage sales special use 2 for bar, lounge, beer, and wine, consumption on premises and package sales, off premises consumption only, with a total of 2,369 square feet indoors only. The proposed application requests a total of 2,369 square feet, also indoors only. According to the floor plan, there is a total of 113 occupants. The site plan indicates also that the proposed hours of operation will be consistent with Chapter 14. The site plan shows existing dual access driveways off South MacDill Avenue in 2 different locations. There is a change to the staff report. the required parking for all the uses of the site on the site are 230 parking spaces, not 261, but 230 parking spaces, and the site plan is showing 157 parking spaces. A waiver is requested here for the reduced parking. The subject property is along a mixed-use corridor village, and the distance separation is a requirement of 250 feet from residential uses and 250 feet from other A/B sales establishments. The applicant has requested 2 new waivers here. First, section 27-132 to reduce the required minimum distance separation from 250 feet to 221 feet for residential uses. And also another change to the staff report in section 27-283.7 to reduce the required number of off-street parking spaces from 230 to 157. And this is a 32% reduction here. Coming down, you can see more of the establishment overhead view. I went on site and was able to take some pictures of the site. Here is a views of the subject property, the strip. The subject parking lot to the north view with all of the store establishment signs of Palmacia Village. To the east, you have multifamily residential. And to the south, you have a school where their soccer field, basketball, football, and so on, other sports go on. We have an overhead aerial view here of the site outlined in red. And the recommendation. The development review and compliance staff has reviewed the application and finds it inconsistent with the applicable City of Tampa Code of Ordinances. Minor corrections are needed here to the site plan and will be hopefully provided between first and second reading. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions, gentlemen?
If I may,
You recognize, sir.
maybe I should be asking a petitioner this. Is this a new establishment, or is this establishment that's being bought? Oh, it's a petitioner. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any question for staff? All right, we're from the applicant. All right, we have the applicant there?
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
there.
she's on the second floor
All right, she's been sworn, I'm sure.
to present your stuff.
Thank you. Good evening, Councilman. Jamie Mayer of Hill Ward Henderson, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700 for the applicant, and I have been sworn. And Councilman Citro, I can definitely answer that question. Actually, I'll just go ahead and answer it now while it's fresh on my mind, if that's okay. It's not a new establishment. Actually, our applicant, our client is a tenant, so he doesn't own the spaces, but he currently operates them as Cheese Please and Maison du Cigar, and they're going to still be Cheese Please and Maison du Cigar, as I'll explain. So it's not changing the uses or even the brand, but he's a tenant, so it's not a new owner.
Right, I presume that from the strip mall that he would be a tenant.
Right.
But the business itself, he already owns the business that is in that strip center?
Yes, they're both his, Cheese Please and Maison du Cigar.
All right, thank you. I'll let her present, then I'll have another question later. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
I know exactly, I can't give evidence, I just was questioning.
So as staff very adequately presented, these are 2 adjacent units in this Palmacia Village Shopping Center. They currently serve beer and wine, and also delectable cheeses and cigars. And the request here is to serve beer, wine, and now liquor. The size is not going to change. The request is for consumption on premises and package sales as currently occurs. No outdoor seating is proposed. And although, yes, the site plan states that our hours of operation would be consistent with chapter, I think it was 27, we're more than willing to limit to closing at midnight on the weekends. And if we want to discuss closing earlier during the week, that is also acceptable. And again, no outdoor seating, nothing outdoors. As you can see, there's really not a whole lot of room out there anyway.
This is the site plan. I just kind of wanted to blow up the image for you a little bit more to show you. This is the about 2,300 square feet. The two little stores are next to each other, and they slice that subject site down the middle. So it's one A-B site plan, so they're connected, and two stores. And I'll show you the floor plan so that it's a little more clear. So the top is Cheese Please, that's the north, and the south is Maison du Cigar. Cheese Please has about 30 seats, and Maison du Cigar has about 23 seats. And as you can see, there's a little door between the two to provide, kind of a connected experience for guests. As is not uncommon with these AB2 applications, we are requesting a distance waiver to reduce the separation from residential uses from 250 to 222 feet. So that's to this building here across the street. But again, as I explained, the location of the use isn't changing. We need the waiver for the AB2 because it's required by code. But the use isn't going to change. Nothing's going to change about the site. So the surrounding area will not be affected negatively if it hasn't been affected negatively now. And we're also requesting a parking waiver because the shopping center has 157 parking spaces. Just per code, a total of 33 spaces alone are required for Maison du Cigar and Cheese Please. And any applicant in the shopping center who would be submitting a planning application would have to request a parking waiver simply because the mix of uses, as you can see from this chart, would require, under a literal reading of the code, 230 spaces. However, in practice, the existing parking lot adequately serves the mix of tenants. The uses in the shopping center have alternating peak hours of demand. So I kind of went through and made this little chart of when stores open and when they close, what kind of stores they are. They're also completely differing levels of what kind of customer flow will be produced. So for example, there's a hair salon that's by appointment only. So it's only going to have a handful of people at any given time. There is a number of boutique specialty stores which would draw kind of smaller crowds. You're not going to have as much of a flow of customers as you would with some of the restaurants. And then there's a self-storage unit which takes up a lot of space as well in the shopping center. It has 4 employees on its largest shift, and it's a self-storage unit, so there's really no set hours that would be an intense level of demand. And out of the 12 uses in the shopping center, 8 of them close by 7 p.m. Maison du Cigar and Cheese Please don't open until noon, and the brunchery closes at 2 p.m. So you've really got this mix of uses that result in 150 spaces being more than enough. And I even went through Yelp because it's something that I personally do when I'm going to a new location is I go to Yelp and I search parking in the comments because I'm very anxious about being able to park. And I did that with this, and I found reviews saying plenty of parking, easy parking, plenty of parking. And I took these photos during lunch hour. I apologize if they're a little hard to see, but what you can see is a lot of open space and not a ton of cars. So I think our parking waiver is, it's going to be required by anybody in this strip center, and I think it's pretty well justified. We find that we satisfy the special use criteria. Our request for our waivers satisfies the special use criteria. As you saw in the staff report, the Tampa Police Department, of course, has never received any calls for this location. So it's obviously heretofore not caused any problems. So it is in line with ensuring public health, safety, and general welfare. Parking is adequate. Aside from the 2 waivers, our use will comply with all of, code and regulations. It's proven itself compatible with the contiguous and surrounding property because Cheese Please has been here for many years, and Maison du Cigar opened last year, and they are well loved by neighbors. We've received a lot of letters in support, which I will submit into the record, from neighbors who live across the street and own condos across the street and throughout the city of Tampa. For the same reasons, the use is in conformity with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. It's a mixed-use district, and this shopping center is has been here for a long time. And as such, it will not establish any precedent because it's an existing use, and this is kind of what people expect for the area, and it has a long history. So with that, well, I don't even know why I'm showing this slide, but thank you. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for the applicant?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Citro, you recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As we have heard Ms. Susan Valdez tell me repeatedly that I cannot dictate on what you can sell and what you cannot sell. So I will just ask you what you are going to sell. You are going to sell full liquor.
Yes.
You are going to sell beer and wine.
Right.
This is not a microbrewery, so you will not be selling the beer that you produce.
Correct.
Thank you very much. What's the square footage on this, on the combined spaces?
That's the 2,369 square feet
2,000?
combined.
Over
Total.
2,000, correct?
Yeah, over 2,000. I mean, just
and you've
just
got
over
plus or minus 60 seating?
50, about 55.
Okay, wonderful. You do realize that this goes with the property?
Yes.
So in case the seller, the owner decides to sell out, this will stay with the property?
Yes, that's, I
Okay.
believe that's how that works.
I
I would
think-
confirm that with legal though, but yes, I can say.
I think someone is shaking their head up and down. I thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions for the applicant? Is there anyone here to speak on this item on the second floor?
Eileen Rosado, Development and Growth Management. There's no one else here to speak on this item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eileen, you're the only one who's still smiling this time of night, you know? Bunch of grumpy people up here, I'll tell you.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Speak for yourself.
All right,
There are no registered speakers for this item.
move to close. Ms. Pascal has moved, Ms. Miranda second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. I think we're back to, Mr. Carlson?
I'd like to move file number AB 2-21-09, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverages, beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 3225 South McDill Avenue, Unit 103 and 105, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 3, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, repealing ordinance number 2013-100, providing effective date.
Mr. Carlson has moved it, Mr. Miranda second. Roll call, please.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Viera? Citro?
No.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
And Dingfelder.
Yes.
Motion carried with Viera being absent. Citro voting no. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
All right. Number 13. Getting close, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, sir. Zane Hussein here, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 13, case file REZ 21-40. This is for a rezone for the property at 7300 South Swoop Street. Proposed rezoning from RS50 to IG. I will now pass it along to our Planning Commission, David Hay.
Good evening, council members. David Hay with your Planning Commission staff. I have been sworn. If I could share my screen, please. All right, hopefully you're seeing my screen. This next rezoning 21-40 is located within the South Tampa Planning District, more specifically the Port Tampa City neighborhood. The closest transit is approximately 800 feet to the east of the subject site along West Ingram Street. And West Ingram Street is served by Harts Route 17, which connects the site up to Britton Plaza. The subject site is located within the coastal high hazard area, and the site is also within a level A evacuation zone. This site may look familiar to you. It did come to you through a plan amendment, TA CPA 20-22. This is again down in Port Tampa City. We have West Ingram Street on the north, South Sherrill Street on the east. Just to the east here, where my arrow is St. Mark's Missionary Baptist Church. To the south, Swoop Street is a private road and dead ends into the southern property boundary of the site. It's all single-family detached to the south. And then you can see to the west of the site, you have light industrial uses, predominantly open storage, auto repair, things like that. Also, there's industrial uses along West Ingram Street. Here we have the adopted future land use map. Again, this should look familiar. The plan amendment brought it from the residential district to this light industrial that you see now. The light gray is that light industrial future land use category, and then to the south is the residential 10. The parcel is landlocked, but it is under common ownership with this parcel to the north through the industrial area. Given the presence of parcels currently zoned for industrial general to the north and west of the subject site and the common ownership, proposed industrial general zoning district supports policy direction by encouraging industrial non-residential infill in an area located in the coastal high hazard area and plan for industrial uses. In conclusion, the proposed industrial general zoning would provide for a development pattern that is comparable and compatible with that existing development pattern, especially to the north and west, and is also consistent with that the light industrial future land use designation. The request will continue to recognize industrial lands for their support as key economic engines, not only within Port Tampa City, but within the entire city as a whole. So based on those considerations, your Planning Commission staff does recommend that the proposed rezoning be found consistent with the provisions of the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Mr. Tinfoil, you recognize.
Mr. Hay, so the dark brown is what?
Residential 35.
Residential 35. And what is the actual use? Are there some single-family homes in that brown area?
Well, yeah. This is the, let's go back to the aerial. This is church property. I believe there's maybe a couple single-family detached here. There's also another church over in this area as well. And then you do get
no, I was talking about immediately adjacent on that block.
This is a church.
The whole thing is church?
The whole, yeah, it's owned by St. Mark's Missionary Baptist.
Okay, so there's not a single family along there.
Not on this. The single family only begins to the south here. So right about right here.
I remember this one because there was a question of adequate notice up at the end of Swoop Street last time.
Right.
Did we notice it further down on Idaho this time?
Noticing is handled by the city.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? City staff.
Thank you so much. Zain Hussein here, Development Coordination. Can I please have control of the screen again? Thank you. Case RAZ 21-40. The applicant here is Robert E. Valdez Jr. Representative name is John Grandoff. Property address here is 7300 South Swoop Street. Looking at overhead view of the survey of the property. Now, this is a proposed rezone from RS50, residential single family, to IG industrial general. The owner does also, as David Hayes said, does also own the parcel to the north here. Now, this is a Euclidean request, so no waivers are permitted here. The site contains 0.98 acres and is currently vacant at this time. The property is surrounded by detached single-family uses to the south, as David Hay said, a religious assembly to the west, and industrial uses to the north and the west. I'm sorry, the church is to the east. Overhead view map here, as you see, the subject parcel is outlined here in red. The single-family homes, as I said, are here to the south. The church here is along here to the east. You have industrial. When I went out there, and I have pictures also. There's a boat storage, car storage, and so on, industrial, all along the north and the west side. Coming out, when I went out to the site, took pictures of the subject site here, vacant lot. 7301 South Swoop here to the south, residential single-family home. 7302 South Swoop Street, also residential single-family home. And along South Swoop Street, all the way down, are residential single-family homes. To the north of the site, this is the area where the industrial general parcels are located. As you see, it's a boat storage, you have industrial general buildings, warehouses, and et cetera. To the east of the site, you have a church all along the east. And the development review and compliance staff has reviewed this application and found the request consistent with the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances. If you have any questions, I'm available for anything you need.
Any questions, gentlemen? All right. We have an applicant?
Jamie Mayer for the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700, and I have been sworn.
Jamie, give us the short version and
Yeah.
reserve for rebuttal.
I was just pulling out all the slides from and I just whittled it down to like 2. So I think I just want to note kind of the list of uses that are permitted in the IG zoning district. It's an area for light manufacturing, wholesaling, and warehousing, to provide for areas for industry and locations served by major transportation facilities, which we certainly are in such an area, but in areas that it's not desirable to have heavier industrial development because of proximity to residential. So where we are is exactly what this district is intended for, and especially in this Port Tampa area, it makes sense to use this vacant space, which is landlocked, other than the piece of land that the applicant owns to the north, for more industrial general uses. And I just want to note that hazardous materials as a use are not permitted in IG. They are only permitted in industrial heavy. And just as I mentioned at the comprehensive plan hearing, the applicant's intent, although of course since it is Euclidean, there's no site plan associated with it, but he wants to create a craftsman's village which will provide individual spaces for rent by small and solo fabricators to allow kind of an incubator setup for them to use as their workshops. So I think it's a valuable idea, and it's a great location for it. And again, just to point out the access, so the residents along Swoop Street will be, buffering is required in the IG zoning district, and Swoop Street's private road. We're not going to be using that at all, and we're going to be using, Ingram, where the rest of these properties already have, these industrial properties already have their access. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions, gentlemen? Do we have anyone for public comment or registered participants?
There are no registered speakers for this item.
Eileen Rosario, Development and Growth Management. There's no one here to speak on this item. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night, Miss Eileen.
Good night.
Mr. Citro has moved to close. A second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Randall. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Citro, could you close us out, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. File number REZ 2140, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 3700 South Swoop Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to IG Industrial General, providing for an effective date, is that they are that they have met the burden of proof, the petitioner has, compliance with applicable goals, objectives, policies, and comprehensive plan as noted in the Planning Commission staff report, such as the proposed rezoning would allow for development that is compatible to the character of the surrounding uses and is consistent with the development pattern anticipated under the land use designation and compliant with the land use development code. The proposed zoning category is consistent and compatible with the existing development pattern.
Mr. Citro has moved it. In a second. Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Carlson,
Yes.
Goods,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Viera, Citro,
Yes.
Maniscalco, and Dingfelder.
Yes.
Motion carried with Viera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on July 15th at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Maniscalco, new business. Mr. Carlson.
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Citro.
Yes, I got about 14 different things. I hope you don't mind me taking my time with this.
Yeah, Mr. Vieira's not here. Mr. Vieira's not here tonight.
And half of them are from Mr. Vieira. First of all, I'd like to thank our friend and a person who appears before us. Much time, Mr. Jake Kramer is a new daddy. Congratulations to you, Jake. And again, thank your wife for putting in all the hard work. Yes, I make a motion to present accommodation to the Black Business Bus Tour, as they are celebrating their 15 years of incredible promotions to support the black-owned business community. The Black-Owned Business Tour, led by Miss Candy Lowe herself, has not only put the spotlight on black-owned businesses through the bus tour that has grown every single time, the bus tour also has created an ecosystem that supports the community around the black businesses. This accommodation will be provided to the Black Business Bus Tour off-site for their 15-year anniversary this weekend.
Are you going Saturday? Is this for Saturday?
That's the day I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Candy Lowe.
I'll see you there second.
Mr. Citro made a motion. Mr. Maniscalco, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Citro, give Ms. Candy Lowe my love. Unfortunately, I did send a contribution for the event, but I have two major events. I have the National Organization of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated coming into town. They're going to have a national convention virtually here in our city, and in, the year after that, we'll have the national convention here for all the Kappas. So I have to attend that, and I have an event for the women's group on Bay Shore as well. So I booked it weekend, but tell her my love, and of course I support the bus tour.
She knows that you support her. Thank you, Council and Chair.
Mr. Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got two items. One's easy. On July 15th, we have on the agenda a report from Murray Holmes in regard to the Margaret Veazey Neighborhood Leader of the Year Award, but I'd like to put that off until August 26th for reasons that y'all don't care about tonight. But anyway, motion.
Mr. Dingfelder made a motion. Mr. Maniscalco is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, and so I handed you guys a document just now. I think everybody has one, and the clerk has a copy. Mr. Shelby has a copy, and I gave a copy to the city attorney's office earlier. Various neighborhood leaders asked us last fall to expand the notice area. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
And anyway, so Carol Ann Bennett, working with her group in Virginia Park, Sandy Sanchez in West Tampa, Davis Island, the South of Gandy folks, as well as some others, have put together this document, and the red lines would be what they would be respectfully adding or requesting that we add to the code. And we don't need to deal with it tonight, but I'd like to just set this on our calendar. Apparently, council text amendments are due no later than July 15th. So, which happens to be a council day, I believe, Mr. Shelby?
That's correct.
And so I'd like to put it under staff reports for a discussion about this neighborhood proposal that they don't want to do as a privately initiated text amendment. They are asking city council to do it as a council text amendment. So with that, I leave this document with you to massage. One of the things I already disagreed with them about was they said they want to give renters notice. I think that's a wonderful idea, but it's like completely impossible because there's no way to know who the renters are because it's not part of any public record. So anyway, so as you can see, I struck out that renters provision, even though it's well-meaning and well-intended, it's just impractical. With that, I'd like this to come back as a possible city council text amendment on July 15th under staff reports.
Mr. Dingfellow has moved it. Mr. Carlson has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank
Motion
you,
moved.
council, and have a good holiday.
Mr. Miranda.
No, sir, none, thank you.
Mr. Dingfellow, I'll pass the gavel to you, sir.
Got it.
All right. Gentlemen, I would like to make a motion to give the Florida Mother Chapter of the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club a combination for continuing the legacy and history within the communities, supporting those less fortunate, and fostering the youth. Make this presentation on July 29th.
They're great people, they really are.
Yes, they are.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Who made the motion, who seconded it for the record?
I could have sworn Miranda made the motion.
No.
And Citro seconded it.
No.
Oh, wait, Goods made the it's late. Goods made the motion and Miranda seconded it.
All right, gentlemen, my last of the night, I was posed a couple of questions that I could not answer. I did kind of mention it to our city attorney. You heard some questions this morning from State Representative Diane Hart about some of the issues in the communities as it relates to code enforcement. I know we have a nuisance abatement board, but we also have a code enforcement board. Somehow they're kind of intertwined or intermingled. So I'd like to make a motion for the legal department to bring back presentation as it relates to the nuisance abatement board and the code enforcement board. And I have some other written items within this memorandum, and I'll give to the clerk.
Second.
Yes, sir, August 26th.
Under staff reports?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
He has the gap.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, there's a motion. Okay, thank you, Charlie. There's a motion and by Councilman Chairman Goods, who seconded it.
I did.
Miranda seconded it. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries
Order
unanimously.
receive and file. Second, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Miranda moved and Mr. Maniscalco seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I don't know who's funnier tonight, you or Councilman Maniscalco.